isn't all it's cracked up to be. Gotta go with fish and
What the fuck?
name is the only thing saving it.
Why is this not working?
Fret not though, for all is not lost in the realm of paternally named Denny's offshoots, and we have Psyche K to thank for the even more amazingly titled Dad apostrophe Ease. I gotta say, I am shocked by how much they managed to make a 2016 anime look like circa year 2000's Digipaint.
What?
Like, was that intentional? This show looks fucked. Value Slam. Actual year 2000 Digipaint and perennial yaoi.
Is this weird? Is anyone noticing this?
Features what might be
What the fuck? This is so weird.
Restaurant food of the whole bunch. Like this
Sharon everywhere.
like fucking poop spaghetti. Look, does it even matter what I fucking rate this? You may have noticed, based on the sample size I present to you here, Denny's variations appear pretty frequently in anime about music. And while I doubt there's a strong association between diners and dumb DIY kids in Japan, there sure is in America.
I'm done.
The specific restaurant seems to be regional. For some it's Waffle House, but for
this is weird. What? Okay. Is YouTube not allowing this now? Or is it like Chrome? I can stream my... I can stream my stuff on Clip Studio. Why can't I stream anything from Chrome? What's going on? Yeah, I have the cursor showing. Just barely though. What the fuck? I'm gonna delete. Move. Move. Window capture. Wait. Make subview available. Okay. Discard. Discard. Jesus. Okay, so it allows stuff from Clip Studio. Why is this pitch black then? Did I get in trouble? Dude, is YouTube angry at me? Let's see. Maybe I got like a warning from YouTube or something. That's from 2022. What's that? What's this email? Okay, YouTube gaming, YouTube community. We have age restricted your content. Spot reviewed your content, determined that may not be suitable for viewers under the age of 18. As a result, we've age restricted following content. Fucking. We haven't applied a strike to your channel, and your content is still live for some users. YouTube. Reading for more detail. Decision. What age restriction mean? Okay, so it's probably because I called it fucking. What you can do next. Realize this may be frustrating, and we want to help you make sure your content is accessible for all audiences. Here we can do. You gotta double check your content with the guidelines. Appeal here. Yeah, it's only because I said fuck. Which is true. Like, kids shouldn't watch it, but like. Double check your content line with our guidelines. Review YouTube's community guideline. Okay. That sucks, but I should probably work on that at some point. Fuck, what do I do right now? Okay. Does that viewers restricted single adults it will not be visibly logged out. Visible to users who are logged out are 18 of age or have restricted mode enabled. Oh, fuck you. I didn't realize that. That fucking sucks. I mean, like, I know most people would have an account, but still. Fuck, what do I do? God, what do I fucking do? Holy shit. Oh god, YouTube overlords. YouTube overlords are insane. Okay, what about Google, though? Why can't I see Google Chrome? Wait, can I? I'm wondering. There's nothing here that says, like... YouTube gaming. Look at your personal portal for at least gaming trends. In honor of May 4th, the launch of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, we're shining a lightsaber at players, storytellers, and historians that connect the galaxies. Okay. Okay, let me open up Microsoft Edge real quick so I can get this figured out. Yeah, I can't see anything from Google. Google. What? San Gabriel Valley. No, there's nothing. I really hope this works. What the fuck? Okay. Oh my god. Does this work though? What? I don't fucking know. Okay, this is weird. My web browser. Your pitch black on OBS. If you have hardware acceleration enabled Firefox, Chrome, or any other browser in the app that uses OBS will show what? If you have hardware acceleration enabled on Firefox, an issue that frustrates hardware acceleration. Okay. This is an issue that frustrates many OBS users, but you do at least have a workaround. You can disable hardware acceleration while trying to capture that browser window. Okay. Going back to Chrome. This is so fucking obnoxious. I hate YouTube. I hate the internet. I hate everything. I hate the world. The worldo is so annoying. It's annoying because I'm really excited for this stream. Just like making memes. Like I'm still working on my comic today. But I'm still gonna be. I just want to make memes today, honestly. Sync in Google services, customize your Chrome. Wait. Shut up. Use hardware acceleration when available. Scroll down to system selection. Select advanced if you need to, and disable the toggle to the right of use hardware acceleration when available. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm already there. Okay. Now I just gotta let it do its thing. I'm sorry, I'm just messaging someone real quick. Where is it? Oh no! Whoa, holy shit. It's all gone. What the fuck? Oh, it's all back. Ew. Okay. I'm down with that. Jesus. Dude, I'm like, I need to pee real quick. Oh my god, I need to pee. Okay. Discard. Yes! Fuck yeah. Holy shit. That was such bullshit. Oh my god.
This. You may have noticed, based on the sample size I present to you,
Hey, Punk Lay! Okay, fine, I'll go pee. Fine, if I have to. I'll be back, okay? Today's Mean Mum Day though, so I'm just gonna work on my comic for a little bit and then work on memes. Because I think it's fun.
Desperation food after playing a show, or just ordering a coffee and talking shop with my bandmate about our songs after closing up at the rehearsal studio I worked at and recorded in during off hours. I've got a lot of fond music-related memories cushioned within many a Denny's. I actually once ate at the hardcore show What the Fuck Is Up Denny's just a few months before that event happened. It is perhaps for this reason, combined with manga author Hamaji Aki's status as Tom Clancy for DIY brats, that Bocchi the Rock's Denethans still counts in my heart, despite it looking like, being named like, and being based on a real-life Jonathan's location. Let me have this. I may have my stupid, petty issues with this show I'll probably talk about elsewhere eventually, but it is unassailable fact that in spite of my general disinterest in seeing myself reflected in art, you know, my work is personality driven, I see more than enough of myself every day, I felt a kind of indescribable, transcendent euphoria watching anime girls mob over to a diner after playing a gig that had maybe only been topped elsewhere by an earlier episode of the very same show. In the grand scheme, it doesn't even matter, but putting aside the interior being bland in the same way so many modern anime backgrounds are, the food looks great by family restaurant standards. Thick cut fries, hamburg steak, I don't know, butter chicken, some kind of curry, not really sure. Spaghetti, my paisan's heart whispers that that's basil on top, but something uglier inside me tells me it's probably parsley, but still, it all looks good. I'm sure Bocchi appreciated the tablet menus, and I gotta give props to the USB outlets stationed at each booth. 5 stars, grand slam, this is the anime Denny's I like the most. But if my arguments and the first 3 letters of the name aren't enough to convince you, that is...
Oh my god. Okay, I'm back.
So, there is a high
Oh my god.
who actually cares for Danny's
What?
number
Shut the fuck up.
Denny's number
Shut the fuck up.
I'll lay out
Go
my
away.
favorite, least
Okay, sweet.
You can fill in the rest however you please.
Sec. Let me...
Go to Tokyo Tribe 12 pennies for favorite, with maybe the Beck Danny's right behind it.
Back and back. Yes, actually. Thank you for asking.
And because I think it's very out, Side M pennies is the worst of the worst.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling good, actually.
Or comprehensive list.
That was pretty nice to
For
do.
example, I've heard there might be one in reading.
So, let's get this comic
I want to see
over
them
with
all,
today,
because it's a show I'd like to watch myself
so I can
someday.
get started on
There's a
just
bit of
making
insight
some
into the
silly
process
memes
for this
today.
video. I was racking my brain trying to think of more I had seen, even just examples of scenes taking place at family restaurants in general. There was one I thought was surefire. There's that early episode of the original season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where the boys think Anzu is doing Enjo Kosai and they find out that she just got a part-time job. I thought maybe it was a family restaurant, but nah, it's MF Burger World. Stupid me. As it turns out, there's a lot of anime in the world, more than any one person could reasonably see in a
Sec.
lifetime.
Sorry.
So the true totality of anime Denny's in existence may never be knowable, and I think that's just fine. But there's
Oh,
still
God.
more section
Okay, let's go.
of anime that needs attention. Official
Okay.
collaboration. While nothing could possibly compare to either the official Lawson Vocaloid nor the official Panya Lawson.
Sorry, I'm just,
Check it out. It's even got a little
getting this
fan
set up.
club. Japanese Denny's has had some pretty good collaborations in its day. You've got expected stuff like
Oh, not
Monkey
24
and
minutes.
Pokemon.
25
Here
minutes.
are a few that I
Yeah.
find interesting and relevant here. First up, here's the
Wait,
K-On!
4 minutes,
collaboration,
and let's get started.
started on July 20th.
If you need to go again, I don't... Don't wait and go. No, I don't need to go again. Don't worry.
Including 2 new menu items, a peach milfai pie and a fresh peach and milk pudding soup. cold soup, I'm guessing, since this
Um,
was, released in the Dead
Also, you don't have to
summer.
say
Like,
2 after go
Pokemon
every time. Like,
on the Jump manga,
when you,
Jump manga, running from April 26th
Oh,
to May
this
26th.
girl's like ranking anime Denny's right now. The next video is going to be about like comfy RPG games. I just thought it'd be nice and fun to put in the background. Because I really like her content. It's very relaxing content. Relaxing and uplifting content. Why not? Uplifting means it's made for the purpose of like making you feel better. It's not really made with that purpose, but...
Meanwhile, with K-On!, it's like, what is a cute girls doing cute things anime without ample time spent discussing or consuming sweets? Last one for the night, and most mutually relevant, we've got the Kofuku Graffiti collab.
Oh yeah, I need to turn on the app.
along
And about
with
I don't think you have to worry too much about copyright with these videos.
Pancakes Volume 3.
That's usually like big businesses that are pretty strict about that.
Cards featuring a unique
And
illustration
I
from
think it's
the
transformative because it's
very cool.
being used in the background of like
There was also a
the major part, which is just me drawing.
17 with March rolled in like a lion.
So it doesn't really take much away. Yeah.
Someone fucked up big time though, because this collaboration took place in
What
April.
is it?
Like, come on, you were only a month
I don't know.
off. Look, conclusions are a formality. I'm not writing a high school essay, and I doubt you want to feel like you're grading one. I made this video because I thought Dunnies was a funny thing to call a restaurant and a cartoon. If you're so inclined, you can fill in the blanks here with whatever analytical framework gets you going to round this out. Splash around in the pool all you want. Just don't get too pruny or it's gonna hurt to walk back to the car when it's time to go home.
What's this game? What is this? Oh yeah.
No, that's not right. That's wrong. Get that out of here. It needs to be cute. I adore the Flatwoods monster. Short Stack over here has always been cute, ever since those early drawings done up after a former teacher and 6 random schoolboys trespassed to LARP the 5-cent sci-fi novels they read back in 1952. What they drafted up together in the aftermath of getting screamed at by a barn owl or whatever has a kind of pulpy elegance to it. Distinctive, easily simplified, malleable, the perfect fit for game developers of all sorts who want a character that says alien without also saying little green men. See, this funny bitch is everywhere. Just when you think you've seen all of it, boom, it's in the distance of a golf game from 2003 we only took notice of last year, or as a hidden enemy in a nauseatingly obscure PS2 dungeon crawler. While the Flatwoods monster, also known as the Braxton County monster, the Phantom of Flatwoods, and my beautiful darling daughter...
You make a sketch for drawing a Bomberman's birthday? Not yet. I'm gonna... Bomberman's birthday is not for a while, so I think I got time. And I have a lot of, like, commission work I have to work on right now, anyway. So, I'm gonna first, like, spend today working on some relevant memes. It might be kind of fun and goofy to do.
This special wasn't the more famous lost tapes either. I can't remember what those documentaries were.
Okay, yeah.
This was like 2004, maybe 2006 at the latest. The morbid fascination I felt, the actual, real, palpable child fear that shook me to my child core, even though deep down I didn't really even think any of it was real, that sensation stays with you. Now, into adulthood, the Flatwoods monster is future tattoo levels of dear to me. Likewise, though more tangible, I've also been an unhinged knower of arcane video game knowledge. I may be able to count the number of games I've completed on 2, maybe 3 hands, but my brain is the most functionless encyclopedia out there. You want Sengoku Turb facts? I got 'em. As such, and because I think the augmentation of game mechanics make for an interesting dimension to my research, when the question dawned on me, just how many times does the Flatwoods monster appear in video games, I knew I had to investigate. So, as any perfectly normal adult would, I drafted up a color-coded spreadsheet to keep track of them all. There currently exists
I love her.
a complete list of appearances in games, and while I certainly can't claim mine
Okay.
is truly
That one's
complete
good.
solely on on the sheer amount of games that exist, I'm certain I come bearing the most complete and the only list with this many entries that contain video, or in some cases photos, of every entry. If you can think of more I've missed, by all means tell me and I'll keep a running list of them in the pinned comments or something like that, but currently I'm pretty confident in the fruits of my research. Trust me when I say it would be tedious for me to speak in depth about every entry, but I will show footage of each and every one, as well as a chronological recap in the outro. Because of this, and for the sake of greater flow, I won't be discussing the entries I do speak on in depth in chronological order. However, I find the right place to start is surely the first game the Flatwoods Monster appears in, 1987's game.
It's like a furry commission, so it's like I'm doing like someone's Mega Man OC based Mega Man Battle Network OC.
Feels like a manic episode. The most blown out audio, the most disorienting enemy patterns, the most scattershot references to other media. It's got it all, and it's all cranked up to 1 in the morning wellness check levels. It feels fitting that a game already...
But it's well paid, which I'm really glad about. So I'm trying to like get some good commissions that I can use to like... I'm trying to get some good commissions so I can make some money to like build more of my streaming and
in the game's third stage, UFOs drop a shitload of these guys, which explode.
Yeah, build more of my streaming empire, basically.
Destroying their armor. They've also got these big grins. Neither of these are common traits elsewhere. I like it, in part because it's so abnormal, but let's set the stage for what normal looks like for the Flatwoods Monster. Generally, there are 4 main traits that make a Flatwoods Monster as I see it, with 2 of the 4 traits being a minimum requirement. These are as follows: bright yellow eyes on a round head, a spade-shaped hood or collar, a lack of defined legs often implied to be covered by a cloak or a dress, and thin arms with bony fingers or claws. This is why the Fallout 76 depiction baffles me so much. Like, that's not the Flatwoods Monster, that's a smoked-out gray. Still, I'm gonna play loose with these metrics because, come on.
Okay, and good you obtain money from your work. Yeah.
Eyes, often dark or obscured round.
Usually we say get paid in America. But yeah.
Hat ends in a point? Or on that note, the standard black mage?
Like, it paid, got paid is present tense, get paid is
on pure technicality, but not enough to consider them an entry. As for the black mage,
no, got paid is past tense. Get paid is present tense. Yeah. Present and future tense.
Even when
yeah.
It's skewed or stylized differently from usual, it's always there. Similar maybes that have actually had debates that have taken place somewhere other than inside my own head are Mario Galaxy's Hell Valley Skytrees, and by extension the 3D Land 4-4 Ghost. Hopefully by the end of this video,
and now I understand what happened in this image with your robot dog, how bite a normal dog would take. Yeah. 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 No, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. So I'm trying to like make this more thick because I'm like, oh god, it's definitely gonna like.
She's got legs for God's sake. But then I saw this right. Yeah, that's the Flatwoods Monster, the Flatwoods daughter. Even to see a dress from a cloak or a robe is something I just sort of have to call as I see it. The presence of a cinched waist.
I need to pull up dog paw.
Common thing that breaks the tie,
puppy paw.
And then not always. Mind you,
puppy paw.
Factored into whether or not I've counted something or not. Rather, it plays into whether or not I get the feeling that a given depiction is supposed to feel feminine or not. I suppose similar machinations at play when I look at any roster of characters and go, where's the girl? I like the girl the most. Make up why I like the Flatwoods Monster so much. Nobody in the initial reports of the sighting ascribe it as being womanly or whatever, but time has shown that, yeah, the Flatwoods Monster fits the gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss archetype to a T. She gatekept those schoolboys from the property they were trespassing on, gaslit them into thinking they'd...
First time I see this image, I do not understand what happened, but now I know.
Fuck it.
In the game?
Tragically,
or,
I have no idea how much it pains me
in real
to
life.
report this to you all. There is only one anime girl, and she was a timed event-only character in a mobile game that shut down a little less than a month ago as of my making this video.
What? Holy shit.
This
Your comic? Oh, yeah, it's hard to tell at first. That's something I'm trying to work on.
Sea of trashy eroge featuring all manner of UMA. We live in a world where 2008 saw both the election of Barack Obama and the release of a game where you can have sex with the reincarnation of Nostradamus, yet there's not a single Megan Echo Flatwoods monster. There's some Western dating sims, I guess, but those veer way harder into the Botanica Transformers Alright Miss Thing category. I need Gijinka. Okay, while I'm at it, would you also believe there's not a single Flatwoods monster to be found in Shin Megami Tensei? How many winters will Mothman have to endure alone? And maybe no Pokemon? Sableye comes close, being based on another left-field alien encounter, but no Flatwoods. Fucking robbery! I shouldn't complain though, because there is one Flatwoods monster sighting that is perhaps the granular peak of Hazelcore.
Ooh. Really? I don't remember. Wait, would it be like the, I think I know what she's gonna say. I never thought about that, honestly.
I'm a farm girl at heart. Sure, I've never lived on a farm or worked on a farm, but I grew up in an agricultural town and went to places like historic creameries on field trips. My hometown has a butter and eggs day parade every year. Chickens are my favorite animal. It's in my blood. The only song I learned how to play in full on an authentic ocarina my parents bought me one Christmas was Epona's theme. I love Lon Lon Ranch, I love Talon and Malin, I love Romani Ranch even more, and I love Cremia and Romani even more. I'm lactose intolerant and a vegetarian. I've never even played Majora's Mask. I want to, but I never have the time. Plus, I don't need to know that the contents of this section of the game, missing only the Taco Bell Black Bean Quesarito, may as well have been the entire contents of my brain, extracted from my skull as though I were abducted and experimented on by aliens. I assume we're all on the same page already about what Majora's Mask's deal is. 3-day time loop.
Zelda Nintendo 64? Yeah. This is Majora's Mask, though.
If you show up to Termina's farm
after
the first day...
No, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm at the part.
All but catatonic. On the first day after resetting, you'll learn that the young girl, Romani, has been teaching herself archery in the run-up to the Carnival of Time in order to fend off what she calls ghosts, who abduct the ranch's cattle around this time of year annually. Show up that same night, and Link will fight off all of these so-called ghosts. In actuality, these flying cattle abducting creatures aren't ghosts at all, but rather aliens. Yeah, look at these cuties. I love these guys. I think this depiction might be the Flatwoods monster at peak alien, right down to them having tractor beam eyes. If you fail to defend the ranch, they kidnap Romani in addition to the cows, presumably brainwashing her. Shoot the shit out of them with arrows, though, until sunrise, and Romani will thank you with a bottle of milk and will call you Little Hero. Since you've stayed overnight, you might as well accompany Cremia on a delivery where she tells you how hard it's been to tend to the ranch all by herself ever since her dad died. She mentions her friend Anju is getting married soon, and there's a pretty convincing
that's good.
that Cremia is in love with Anju rather than Cafe, but that's neither here nor there. In her constant working though, she neglects to see that her kid sister is growing up before her very eyes. Mild spoilers here, but on the third day, Cremia implies that she has this innate feeling that everyone's going to die that night. So she plans to get Romani drunk that night and to keep her near so that the end is as painless as possible.
Oh,
Wow,
shit.
That's heavy. It's perfect. Quiet sadness remains my favorite kind, and it genuinely makes me so happy to see the Flatwoods monster sneak some influence into a story so otherwise...
Excuse me. I don't know why
Just look at all these...
fucking burped like that. Ooh.
Of all the depictions of the Flatwoods monster, this next entry is easily the most obscure. The Wizardry series of RPGs was one of many pieces of American media that arguably landed harder with Japanese audiences than it did Western ones, so it's fitting that one of its Japanese-made spin-offs would contain a Flatwoods monster sighting.
Where is it?
Just my
Okay.
guess, however, that it seems to be from the absolute most obscure spin-off, the third entry in the Japan-only Wizardry Empire game, a dungeon crawler for the PS2, later ported to PSP. Also, just my luck is that it's a rare enemy spawn that you all but need to know how to find to encounter it. The page that cites its existence refers to it generically as enemy number 275, and it didn't include a picture, and from that alone I just kind of knew this thing was going to be a bitch to find. Google image searching for the enemy name, variations on Flatwoods, searching the game's title in English and in Japanese, in Romaji and Kana, I couldn't get a search to turn up a single valid Google Images result. Nothing on the official websites for the PS2 game or the PSP port mention anything either. Nowhere in the single playthrough on YouTube did it show up, so I was already sweating bullets until I realized there was a comment on the first upload that mentions the game's assets were also used for the developer's later, more popular Elmen Age titles. These were translated to English and have a bit of a cult following, so that seemed like a great lead until it turned up nothing. So I continue searching using the Elmen Age connections. I stumble onto a recent VR thread where someone deep into it posted my work in progress list, which was really surreal. That thread only mentions Elmen Age in reference to it featuring a Dogu, so I'm starting to panic at this point. In a haste, I check for playthroughs on YouTube a second time, and find that there actually is a second playthrough of Wizardry Empire 3, broken up into 30 separate hour-long parts. So I start skimming. It takes me an hour and a half. Countless, wait, could that be it? As I think I may find my girl, only to keep moving once I realize the name is wrong. There is one enemy type in particular that looks like the later theorized reptilian alien within the supposed spacesuit, but one, that theory's lame, and two, there isn't a single other depiction that uses that design, so I kept trudging. Then, in part 13, immediately after encountering the aforementioned Dogu, the Let's Player encounters the Flatwoods monster, and fucking immediately runs away. I got it though. I got it live on tape. That's all I needed.
But your dog in real life really bit another... No, it's more so like he gets really... Sometimes he's really nice to a dog, but sometimes he's really, like, angry and mean towards other dogs. So, like, the joke's supposed to kind of be, like, what if the dogs are, like, what if, like, some dogs are just, like, kind of assholes and we don't know it, but they do? You know how was the first game, how Break the Limit of 2D? The very first 3D game? I actually don't know the very first 3D game. Do you know?
I used to go to high school with it. Rule of Rose is top 5 pieces of art for me, period. Tulip seems super cool, but I could not hang with Moon's nearly hostile brand of obtusery. It bummed me way out, because in all other regards, this game seems delightful. It's even also got a Flatwoods monster cameo. This disappointment primed me, though, to kind of instantly fall head over heels for UFO, even with the language barrier. In this lovely little game, you play as an alien rescuing other aliens from Earth, I think, roughly. As such, this is actually the very first instance of a Flatwoods monster you don't fight or kill. Let's put a pin in that notion for now, though. While color scheme varies drastically from sighting to sighting, the most common full color scheme is yellow eyes, red face, black body. This is just about as close to the canon look as we get, which is honestly even better because, I mean, green, yellow, and red? Come on, girl. Do you want to look like a pissed-on Christmas decoration? Perhaps the most quintessential example of a Flatwoods monster depiction actually happens to come from a game that launched on the 50th anniversary of its sighting. Chocovaders were a line of alien-themed gachapon figures that came inside chocolate, much like Wonder Balls or Kinder Eggs. These had a bunch of super cute, pulpy, 50s sci-fi Americana promotional art, which made it an unlikely fit for the peak 2000s Kotomomuke art style of its GBA game, Uchu Daisaku-sen Chocovader. This game is peak GBA. Fat fucking square wave baselines, isometric small town setting all of Mega Man Battle Network, fighting and collecting monsters all of Pokemon and all of its contemporaries, timing-centric combat all of the Mario and Luigi games, bright, chunky pixel art with tons of animations, a screen where you can input codes you get from the aforementioned gachapon figures. It doesn't get more than that. Though combat is derivative on its face, it splinters off into its own thing pretty intuitively. When enemies attack, they like to shake up which of your party members they're going after, so you have to get good at reading their ambiguous movements. And I mean have to. Your shit will get fucked up if you get lost in all the action and miss too many inputs. Numbers stay satisfyingly small, so when they multiply, you feel it. This thing is a blast. It breaks my heart we didn't get it. I know Tomato Adventure is the GBA RPG Fantran White Whale, but goddamn, I want to see this game in English. I'm not gonna be like anybody looking to do countless hours of unpaid labor for something comparatively cloutless, you know what to do. Because if I was gonna say that about any game, it'd probably be Gokinjo Bokentai or the swaths of PSX era Spike Chunsoft games I wanna play. But also because even though it's obscure enough that there are no English language guides, nor even a Moby Games page, I had a pretty decently easy time getting around and understanding what was going on with my functionally non-existent understanding of the language. Like, the humor of our protagonist taking a massive alien to school with him and the faculty making it wait in the pen where they keep the rabbits while class is in session is conveyed clearly just by the facial expressions and the animations. There were a few mechanics I knew I wasn't fully grasping because the iconography was unclear, but I was able to have a few hours of good, clean fun right up until I hit a massive brick wall and had to tap out. Which, unfortunately, is why you haven't seen the Flatwoods monster anywhere in my footage. Rest assured, it's prominent on the title screen, the promotional materials, and even the box, which I have here in my hands, because I just love what this game is going for, and because, again, it doesn't even have a Moby Games page or an IGDB listing. From a sheer compulsive preservation perspective, it was worth it. I think this game is probably as obscure as it is because there's this expectation that an untranslated JRPG is going to be totally unplayable to those who can't speak its native tongue.
Do you want to finish Cars? Oh, definitely. We're finishing Cars tonight. You, me, we're finishing Cars. This part from your comic part doesn't need to connect the images from the top one and under the drawing. Everything is okay? I guess so. Yeah, I guess I'm at a part where I don't have to do as much as I am.
Arcade game with an alien motif to talk about here. And no, it's not actually Area 51. I tried to skim a playthrough of it for any hidden Flatwoods.
Yeah, sometimes I do find myself getting a little bit too obsessed with perfectionism.
Nobody had reported on it. It wasn't going to be there. Now, I'm talking about Gaia Attack 4. They should have called this Smelling Salts the video game. It takes a bunch of still photos and videos of real life and superimposes a bunch of PS2 level alien models you're supposed to shoot at. The video warps and slurs about like a stabilized YouTube video. It's hypnotic. There are times where it looks like one of those AI-generated incomprehensible spaces. I love it. A whole Flatwoods monster army bafflingly appears in northeast China, where upon defeat they reveal that they're all three Greys in a Flatwoods costume. Tangentially related, I suppose, was just how many appearances of the Flatwoods monster are set against distinctly Japanese imagery or paraphernalia. Wonderful 101.
Okay.
Touhou 15.5's Mamizo, Goemon, Siren Blood Curse. It's almost as though the Flatwoods monster has become more Japanese than American at this point. It's like Jellyfish. The band, I mean. Andy Sturmer is better known by Americans for his work with Japanese duo Puffy than he is his American band. That collaboration only happened because his band's work was more popular amongst Japanese citizens. Fun fact, they recorded their first album near my hometown. Sonoma County, dude. It wouldn't be until 2009 that an American game appeared on my list. And it's the fucking bootleg Pokemon figure of Flatwoods monsters. What I mean is, look at this color.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna first...
Body, yellow face, red eyes? Alright, let's go, Scribblenauts. Sure thing. Given the mechanics of the game, it presents the most robust set of verbs for this creature we've seen before or since. You can do shit with her no other game will let you do, like give her a gun, fail to get her to assassinate the president, and die tragically in a standoff with the Mothman. Bye, guys. Following JFK Reloaded over here was the biggest decade for Flatwoods monster sightings, the 2010s. This is probably because the state of Japanese TCGs and gacha games were at their most saturated, and with that trend also...
I just want to, like, merge these together.
...in the West. All of these are cute. I was surprised by how much I like the Ghostbusters World Flatwoods monster, who's the only other depiction alongside Zelda's ghost to lean into the phantom part of the Phantom of Flatwoods. I also really like this Woodland Sprite one from Shadowverse. The 2010s also saw this indie simply called Flatwoods that I couldn't get working on my MacBook. The most interesting thing about the depictions of the Flatwoods monster in the 2010s was
The moments don't need to show that your robot dog fell. The smell of the last dog jumps to him. I bit the moment don't need to show your robot dog fell. Smell the last dog and jump. I don't know. I think that's fine. You really think so?
From Choco Vader to the more recent Taiko Drum Master RPGs.
I guess that could be funny, still.
Were a time of a lot of social, technological...
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
A time where the unknown and UMAs were a personification of those anxieties. Something you can blast away at and move on from with some elbow grease. But as time progressed, and as we've
God. Okay. 5-minute break time.
Depictions of cryptids and aliens have reflected that. We can coexist with them now.
See.
What's more appealing to me about cryptids than the speculative nature of their existence is that they, like so many classic folkloric creatures across history, are an empty canvas that's been pre-stretched. It's why depictions differ so wildly. They're a blank for you to fill in, and I don't know, I think that's cool.
Ooh. Oh, wait. Oh, God. Meant to turn on ROM station. God. Oh, shit. Is it over? Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Same goes for what qualifies as a role-playing game. Talking about games is more fun than not talking about games, so why not talk about more games? Keep in mind, as with any good set of arbitrary regulations, I'm not going to be...
Oh my god. Fuck. So tired.
If anything, this video is more about using a...
Yeah, because now looks like Robot Dog fell the smell
It's possible that you may hear words like that and
of the last dog in the next moment. Just looks like how he appears.
Just look at this channel.
What? Yeah, because now looks like the robot dog felt the smell of the last dog in the next moment. Just looks like how just appeared on Tail of Last Dog. I mean, I can try it.
More Nadia, Secret of Blue Water, less Evangelion. One of the biggest
I don't know.
for this is
Yeah, I can try it.
people championing games like Xenogears for being massive and sprawling or systems rich, but games that stick to being more unassuming can often get swept to the wayside when sometimes that's really all you want. I'm all for mechanical bloat in my JRPGs.
Oh my god!
Resonance of Fate has been on my to playlist for years now, but we're talking about the kinds of games that you can play a little absent-mindedly. Let your attention weave in and out between story segments and combat. Also, you know whose channel this is. I'm coming in weirds only. Okay, let's get into it.
Of course. Of course.
No. Okay, seriously though, I want to start by taking you back. Not to a better time as a socially inept child with a portable video game console, no two sentences struck greater fear into the core of my being when spoken by an adult than, "Alright, save and quit, kiddo," or, "So, what level are you on?" You may understand on instinct, though allow me to explain nonetheless undeterred. For child Hazel, and this is true of adult Hazel as well, the most strenuous of tasks...
No, I don't think you lie. I'm just, like, taking a break right now. That's all. Plus, I just think people have, like, different opinions on what would make the artwork better, you know? So I'm just, like, trying to, like, put into consideration.
How am I supposed to enjoy my my restaurant burrito when I have a clock ticking away in the back of my head until that little green light turns red? Mind you, this was largely resolved with the introduction of the DS's universal sleep mode, but nothing resolved the existential dread raised by a family member or relative.
Think I'm lying? No.
Didn't even want
You don't
to
lie.
go to.
I don't know if you lie.
So, what level are you on? Like, how do I explain
Yeah.
to a grown adult that hasn't played a video game since, like, Galaga, that most video games don't really have levels anymore? Do I just say there aren't really levels? What are the barriers further? What level is my strongest Pokemon? Would that work? Could I measure it by how many gym badges I have? That'd make me on, what, level 6? Paltry. Of course, at a certain point, I learned I could just, lie. Yep, level 24, Dave. These are thoughts and feelings that cross my mind when a game ticks enough boxes on an invisible checklist theoretically titled, well, and
That could be funny, actually. I think that could work.
the facets that make up the platonic ideal handheld RPG in my mind are somewhat ill-defined.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
I know they're often made up of interlocking bite-sized chunks that always tend to be just a bit too...
I'm gonna fix this part, because I think the line art is way too thin on this. Holy shit.
Usually also entails a good bit of mindlessly satisfying side content to plunk away at.
And then I think I'm gonna just, like, add floors and stuff
Most vividly is that
to try and
particular
keep it
style
from
of
looking
representation
too
of your
lame,
average Dragon
you know?
Quest or Final Fantasy
just, like, too
style
plain, or, like, they're walking in air.
easier sprites despite the lower
Might use, like,
difficulty.
some kind of background
In
filter.
small places. Same goes for the fonts, actually. A pretty solid example here is actually Naruto Path of the Ninja for the DS. I know
Whoa!
how this is gonna sound, but I was actually too much of an idiot for non-Pokemon RPGs up to this point, so this was the first proper JRPG I ever beat. Yeah, this game is far from amazing, but that's what makes it a good pick. It's about as average as it gets. It is quintessentially dinky. The most rudimentary touchscreen minigame-centric combat that still manages to have a hint of depth with the team and enemy formations, all the voice clips ripped straight from the anime dub, the most generic score. You know exactly what you're gonna get within 10 minutes, and by God, you get it. Yeah, if you couldn't guess, this is a port of a GBA game, one that clearly had some love put into de-Sifying it, but that's a scent you can't just wash off. I don't know, man, how much is there to say? It's an adaptation of Naruto that covers from the formation of Team 7 through the end of the Chunin exams. It's basic shit, but basic can be nice. I don't mean to start off on a weird foot here. By anime RPGs, I don't solely mean RPGs based on pre-existing anime. There are plenty of great titles. Special shouts out go to Tenchi Muyo Gamehen because my feature-length Tenchi video was stricken down by a bunk age restriction, and it has not and probably will not recover, and I'm absolutely still sad about it. But Nerodi over here is the only one we'll be covering with any sort of depth. Now, I'm a lot more interested in seeing what can be uncovered here. This is just as much an archaeological dig as it is anything else. Which is why it felt like the perfect opportunity to re-examine a pocket of RPGs that persistently eluded me in my youth. See, there was a whole subsection of the DS's library that
God, I need to stop
pop up
zooming in so much. I don't need to.
wider and mature audiences. But they started making a shit ton of games aimed at girls. Games of all genres. This wasn't the Game Boy anymore. Style savvy with the penisy Vocaloid soundtrack, all 3 Tokimemo Girls Side games, Super Princess Peach's Hysteria Simulator, and a hearty bounty of JRPGs, all of which seem weird and cute in their own ways. The Trackball Wizard of Oz game by the Wild Arms studio, and
Where is it?
Rhapsody, which I know is a PS1 port, Atelier Annie, which I know is part of a larger franchise, and Witch's Tale. There's also Witch's Wish, which I wish I could have played, but I was getting emulation issues across multiple emulators and operating systems.
Oh, wait, what am I doing? Oh my god, I keep forgetting.
Developed by Ukes and Tamsoft. Like,
There.
what the fuck? Yuke's made a bunch of wrestling games and the greatest game of all time, The Dog Island. Meanwhile, Tamsoft are the Skung masters that have brought us everything from Knight and Baby and a whole fuck ton of Simple Series games, all the way to Onechanbara and goddamn Senran Kagura. Of course, I'm not oblivious enough to think that a game featuring a female protagonist automatically means it's aiming specifically for a female audience, but the Western market, combined with how stripped back some of them get, gives off the impression that they were meant to cast a wider net. The femoids, the Beyoncés of the world, can finally experience all the joys of an RPG with fewer numbers. And
Wait, what?
better introduction to the world of
Why is mid
RPGs
more than
My
what?
World
No.
a game that Spartanly eschews the vast majority of RPG conventions, instead replacing them with a streamlined yet truly bizarre series of systems with some interplay between them. I am a young lady of 15 from a royal family living in the noble capital. I am cute, rich, and self-absorbed. What baffles me is that the majority of what this game streamlined was the environments. Gone are proper towns to hang out in and fields to wander. In their place are a series of menus and these weird area tiles. Oh god, why does she look like Roadkill Betty Spaghetti? Thank god for Melon DS's native resolution upscaling. Let's just, Oh. Bummer there's no translation of the PSP version, huh? There are still traditional maze-like dungeons, but doesn't this seem a little bit backwards? Shouldn't the safe places be the more robust ones, with dungeons being simplified? Plus, I think
graph paper style, tile-based
dungeons were kind of gauche at this point outside of hardcore dungeon crawlers like Etrian Odyssey and the Shin Megami Tensei games. My World, My Way's Japanese title translates to The World Revolves Around Me, but it was switched around to avoid confusion with The World Ends With You, which really tickles me for some reason. I love the title they chose, it helps it stand out. This game revolves around a dedicated pout button that pulls from a limited number of points, yes, pout points, to affect things in and outside of battle. Want the first turn? Pout. Need to magically terraform the environment? Pout. You're a princess after all. It's your world, your way. I love the idea of this system. It's very cleverly implemented narratively, but there isn't exactly a recipe for this kind of game. It's abundantly clear they were just kind of going off the cuff here. I gotta say, I'm impressed by the gumption with which this thing is unconventional and conventional in equal parts, and equal parts unappealingly so. Like, fuck yeah, y'all really went for something, and not really any of it fully worked, and that's fine. This game was made by Global A Entertainment, now known as Gay, who seem like a true
Now known as
of
Gay.
serious-ass video games. They made the Dungeon Maker series.
Maybe you need to stop the video and focus on your comic. I am
hard. They
focused
made
on my
Dungeon
comic.
Tears, one of about 8 original Xbox JRPGs. I can't get over how unbelievably hard this box art goes, serving up the gothic anime angel realness. They put out 2 versions of an Alice in Wonderland game that, despite being virtually identical by the looks of it, come off as radically different because the discrepancy in the in-game character art is so vast. Look at the fucking art for this sound novel they put out. This is smoke. Look at this box art. How is this real? Okay, last one. Peep this art. And... ah, man. I have got to know what's up with this studio. If I understand correctly, it looks like Global A is a mobile studio now, working behind the scenes for TalkWeb and HRG Shanghai. It's disappointing to hear, and I can't help but wonder what kinds of bizarro games they could have been putting out over the last decade. Of all the Nintendo DS girl RPGs, though, there's one that stood out above the rest in my mind. Izuna, Legend of the Unemployed Ninja, in part because they were definitely shooting for the teenage boy demographic, fair play, but also because circa the late 2000s, ads for the damn thing were all over Nintendo Power. That's kind of Christmassy in itself, huh? I treated those magazines like Sears catalogs, typing up a list of games I wanted in Microsoft Word just so I could keep track. Man, I should really make that game magazines video. So, yeah, I was always aware of this thing, always curious about it, but I never bought it because, well, it's got a booby ninja on the front. That's a risk I just couldn't take at age 12. Well, this is tame, actually. The sequel's a bit more risque, but not by much. I guess it was more about the marketing than anything.
Finally, a dungeon RPG strong enough for a man, but played as a hot chick.
That's great. What's so funny to me about this is that in retrospect, Izuna the character is pretty homely. Like, as far as Ninja Lady character designs go, she's no Mai Shiranui. If anything, this blurb written from Izuna's perspective is much more spot on.
You have the privilege of controlling the cutest ninja ever, Izuna, that's me, through all these different dungeons. Customize my weapons and unleash devastating ninja spells to destroy monsters and score major treasure. Let's face it, I need the cash.
Wait, the Izuna online comic is coming to Atlas.com? Okay, I've got to see if that's still up. Of course, the whole thing's in Flash. Bummer. Well, I'm an adult now. I buy my own video games. I can look at all the degenerate filth I want. I can also tell you stone-facedly that I liked Pokemon Mystery Dungeon about as much as a child as I like anime women as an adult. For those keeping score, that means that I like this game a dangerous amount. I'll admit that I'm not very familiar with Mystery Dungeon games outside of the Pokemon entries, so I can't say if this is
actually,
less in line with the core Chunsoft developed titles. What I can tell you is how this game plays. In terms of inputs, this game is exactly par for the course. Enemies move only when you do. The whole thing is grid-based. You heal automatically while walking. Descend down randomly generated floors through stairs. Can throw anything that isn't nailed to the floor. The works. Where it differs is in how items are implemented. Izuna has 4 different consumable ninja weapons in addition to her main attack. Some are ranged, some can be placed to trap or slow enemies. You only have a single equip though, your weapon. This provides increases to all of your stats, as well as a specialized bonus based on the weapon's type. Your weapons can be augmented by spell tags you find. However, spell tags can also be used as consumables that have similar but one-off effects. I'll explain how augmenting weapons works here because it's pretty unintuitive. It's really easy to make your weapons way shittier if you don't know what you're doing, which of course I didn't know what I was doing for the first handful of hours. Spell tags have numbers listed next to them, and while I thought initially that this had something to do with how potent they are, I eventually realized that's their SP cost. Weapons can only handle so much SP before they degrade, causing them to break quickly, the damage you do gets reduced, bad time all around. This limits the amount of tags you can stick to your weapons pretty dramatically at first, but you'll start to find tags with lower SP costs and weapons with higher total SP before too long. What confuses me even now is that Izuna herself has an SP gauge, but I don't exactly know how that pans out. But it never got especially low in my time playing. You'll notice that you're able to deck dudes barehanded too. That's because Izuna cranks up the roguelike dial, and you lose all your money and items when you die. If you equip a particular spell tag to your weapon, it'll hang back at the storehouse even if you die. But frankly, I found it much more beneficial to just consume the tag to bounce out of there when you know you're about to take your last hit, or when you start to sense the going getting tough and decide it's time to get going. Speaking of the storehouse, it doesn't open up until you've beaten the first boss, and while I'd normally say be careful to hold on to anything you like, you're really not going to find anything worth keeping until after that point, which is perfect because it gives you room to experiment and just kind of fuck about until you get the hang of things. Nothing's really sacred. You'll naturally find replacements by thoroughly exploring each floor before descending. If anything, coming back up to the surface with your pockets completely stuffed is of highest tactical advantage because some of these items sell for crazy money. I don't want to oversell Izuna or anything. It certainly didn't set my world on fire. When I said at the top I liked it a dangerous amount, I meant that it's got a loop. And I may not look it, but I'm a fucking sucker for loops. I had to swear off roguelikes a long time ago. They were a nightmare of a time sink. As a result, a big winner for me is always going to be a title that balances a satisfying loop, either mechanically or kinetically, as well as a compelling or fun story. Izuna is a hit on both fronts, although its story lands exclusively on the fun side, and it's pretty bare bones. You and your found family clan of ninja friends wind up indebted to a small town after angering their gods, and you gotta solve shit to lift a curse put on you. Dialogue's cheeky in just the right amounts, the characters are all over the top, it's cute. Alright, last DS game. I swear I didn't even mean to cram all the titles for this console into one spot. Just that way. Summon Night Twin Age was one of those games I happenstanced my way into owning secondhand that wound up having a disproportionately big impact on me. Though the Summon Night series is predominantly made up of tactical RPGs, Twin Age is a touch-centric action-y RTS title that, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, is about as mechanically mindless as they come. Not in that you're just tapping an enemy waiting for it to die. Rather, you spend a lot of time just sort of going through the motions. Beat up some jobbers, break a bunch of boxes, heal your guys, fight bosses, talk with the homies, rinse and repeat. It's fairly easy breezy, a perfect match for its rounded, memory-foamly beachside environments. I'm also just a huge fan of Sunaho Tobei's character design work. It's hard to put in words the exact appeal of her style, other than that it feels nostalgic, familiar even with no prior contact. Her official website has really extensive archives of a lot of her illustration work. I recommend scoping it out. I gotta check out Reveal Fantasia. This shit looks amazing. Pause. Okay, word from Future Hazel, I actually did play Reveal Fantasia. Couldn't figure out how to progress far enough to get into whatever sort of combat or main gameplay hook this game may or may not operate around, but I don't even give a shit because holy shit, just look at this thing. There's simultaneously something very PS2 and very un-PS2 about the whole thing. The way it moves, how soft and round the models are, how everything freezes when you go into first person makes it almost feel like a Unity game. Meanwhile, I adore the use of bitmap faces here, like how Mega Man Legends does it. That's a very distinctly PS1 choice in my mind, and I wish more PS2 games had done that and made them so expressive. For some reason, the menus tanked the emulation speed from about 100% to 40, so even if I could figure out what I was doing, it wouldn't have been practical for a whole playthrough or anything, but man, Jesus Christ, I gotta have more of this thing. It's got one of those towns I just want to live inside of, as is. Check out this cow! I would love to see this thing get translated. Allow me to make my intentions clear, though. For this game acts as no more than a pivot point within this video's grand tapestry. See, the Summon Night franchise has had a weird history in the West. We didn't get any of the numbered games up until the 5th entry, which was released in goddamn 2015 on the... wait, on the PSP? They were still releasing new PSP games in 2015? Physically? Well, before whatever went on there transpired, we got a whopping 3 of the spin-offs. The aforementioned Twin Age, but before that, we got Swordcraft Story 1 and 2. I hit the first of these 2, and it was one of my favorite things I played for this video. It's one of those
You still there?
little RPGs that packs a whole lot into a modest package. Side-scrolling fighting game-inspired combat, a tournament format, some dating sim elements, and unsurprisingly, a weapon crafting system. It sounds sort of overwhelming, but rather than tutorializing you within an inch of your life in the first 2 hours, it drip-feeds not only different mechanics, but the complexity to those mechanics and how they intersect. Despite feeling pretty jam-packed, it's still paced like a handheld game, with individual tasks that give way to plot developments or new mechanics being about as long as they need to be. You're always orbiting home base, the dorm at your apprenticeship too, so you're never too far from a save point. In fact, the game's presentation as a whole is dead on GBA, with the rusty palette of your little port town home being made almost pastel by the screen brightness compensation treatment, the punchy as fuck music, and the screen-filling character portraits and text boxes. Swordcraft Story is told over the course of a handful of subsequent in-game days. There's no real-time clock or anything, rather it's quite literally a morning, noon, night kind of deal. You wake up, check in with your mentor, do some crafting and exploring for as long as you want, until it's time to check in with the tournament. Sometimes something will interrupt or complicate one of these tasks. Going to rescue a kid in a well, needing to run an errand in a cute-as-hell snowy town nearby. After everything is wrapped for the day, you're given the chance to spend some time with one of the few principal characters. This is where the dating sim elements come into play, and it's also where things get fucking weird. So, first things first, the writing in this game is top-notch for what it's going for. Looks like the Summon Night spin-offs were some of the only games Akira Yamamoto ever wrote. It's pretty distinctive. It may just be the localization, but it's well punched up all around. There's a conversation early on where you're talking to your mom, and when she rhetorically asks you if you remember her name, the text box displays question marks where her name used to be. Incorporating the UI into its humor like that is super clever. In particular, I really liked the relationship between the player character and their mentor Braun. It has this very playful yet mutually respectful quality. The two tease one another but clearly value the roles they play in each other's lives. The player character also has a fun rapport with their fellow participants, who all have big personalities. Watching them try to match these eccentricities in and out of battle is one of the highlights for sure. I say them when referring to the protagonists because, you might have noticed, you can pick between a boy or a girl at the start. Yeah, that's not super common for games that are on the story-heavy side, so your next question might be, how different are their stories? If there are light romance options, it's like double the work to have a whole different set of romanceables for the girl protagonist. Harvest Moon had to split the gender option into 2 different games most of the time, and in those titles, the majority of courtship boils down to giving your future spouse a loaf of bread every day until they agree to marry you. Well, the answer is, the male and female stories do not seem to be different at all. Well, not where it counts. Yeah, the girl protagonist's route is, like, shockingly, exceptionally gay. And they got away with an E10 rating over here. What the fuck's going on? I'll be upfront and say I didn't play through the entirety of this game, nor did I play through any of the male protagonist's story to see where things differed. I'm going off context clues and a few things I read online, but I think I've cracked the code here. At first, I assumed there was some translation weirdness going on. Lines like, I never judge by his or her appearance, some spots where NPCs call you man, and this bit where my character explained I declined / I accepted when talking about a choice we, the player, made shortly beforehand, led me to think that there was maybe originally more dialogue for the girl protagonist that was left out to lessen the translation load. Keyworks Studios, then known as Enzyme Testing Labs, were fairly new to the games market at the time, and this is a particularly text-heavy title. But then I thought about it some more. Japanese is a much less gendered language than English, so it's more likely that a lot of the phrasing of the dialogue wasn't altered for the male or female protagonist in the English version, because it never had to be if-then in the Japanese version. If anything, it's more likely the if-then statements for dialogue were all located in the protagonist's own dialogue for their first-person pronouns, which is why the majority of the gendered dialogue surrounding the protagonist comes from their own mouths. This led me to believe that the romance options always played out like this for both protagonists. It's a game made for an adolescent boy demographic, and the female protagonist option was probably an afterthought, or at least never the priority the male and thus default choice was. I'm aware that the core Summon Night games historically featured the choice between a male and female protagonist, with some even having hetero romance options for the girl protagonist. The first in the series having 4 potential playable characters, I believe, but this is a side game and definitely didn't have the same priority as the main games from a development standpoint. However, I also heard that there's a male romance option for the male protagonist in the second Swordcraft story game. No matter the tangled web of reasons, the end result in the first game is a fat dub for the lesbians. Love these girls. If you'll allow me to spell it out though, and I don't mean to burst anyone's bubbles here. It would be naive to go into this with these standards for something that had any real intentions with its inclusion of romance between women. Again, it's a game aimed at adolescent boys. Set your expectations accordingly. That's not me tut-tutting at all, though. In fact, I honestly kind of love it this way. It makes for something really unique, too. It's got all the tropages you're used to seeing play out in a hetero context, but that almost never translate for gay bitches. The closest we get is anime and games where a girl will grab a boob, but with some pandering nod to the audience to let you know she doesn't really mean it or anything. Seeing such hetero interactions between two girls treated as totally ordinary sans asterisks is kind of uncanny and really fucking refreshing. Even my beloved butt attack Punisher girl Gotemon isn't quite so brazen in this regard, and a girl catches a sword between her ass cheeks in that anime.
What?
Oh, fuck. I just remembered. This is an RPG. The combat's fun as fuck, but the game's hard. I saw game overs
Alright, see ya.
every major encounter a few times each before securing a victory. It all but requires some grinding as a result.
Have a good day.
I liked grinding, in part because it felt
Glad you were here anyway, though.
gameplay looks
As
like
long
it
as you were.
takes most of its pages from the early Tales games, and it for sure does take some, but you take an even more active role here. Every weapon type has a differentiated playstyle that you'll come to favor for certain situations, and each has a button combo or two that'll give you an additional attack of some sort. Combine this with spells, weapon durability, blocking and dodging effectively, there's a lot going on. The one downside is that as a result, I never got fully comfortable with how cramped the control scheme is. This is a game that really could have used an X and Y button, probably even a second set of shoulder buttons, but I don't think it puts too much of a damper on things. I'll be honest, this is an important detail for this video as a whole. I'm fairly grinding agnostic. None of these games ever made me feel obligated to grind exactly, but sometimes a grind sesh just kind of feels right. I'm explicitly a fan of fast forwards and save states for RPGs especially also, and I don't really care if that makes me a chump. I'm here to have fun, and I'm not interested in spending just to have a theoretically pure experience. You do you, but talking about emulation is one of those things that's about as noxious to me as, well, just about every other pseudo-philosophical discussion around the very concept of video games. Should Dark Souls have an easy mode? Is Metroidvania a bad term? Can video games be art? When is emulation ethical? Should games cost more money? Did we ever leave the Dark Age, or did our eyes just adjust? Do graphics matter?
Jesus.
When did Weezer get bad? It's not like I'm dismissive of any of these ideas. I just don't know why we're all still having these conversations when it feels so cut and dry to folks who even have the most disparate of feelings on the subject. And I do mean feelings. It's all just fucking boring and exhausting to talk about because every single time the conversation circulates online, it plays out the exact same way. I emulated every single game you see here. That's all I have to say. GBA RPGs were a whole world unto themselves. I was bummed I didn't have the time to get into proper. Golden Sun might be the single most glaring omission of this entire video. However, if I'm honest, that's a bit of an obvious choice, right? If I was going for all-timers only, I would have talked about Tactics Advanced or the trilogy of Fire Emblem games for the console. I knew I had to shoot for something that felt like a classic, but didn't quite get the chance to be regarded as a classic. Oh my god. Yeah, so the Japan-only Magical Vacation is the prettiest game I've ever seen in my damn life. How the fuck was this from 2001? This shit looks like a console swan song.
What?
It popped out of the oven less than a full term after the GBA dropped.
What's this game from?
But fuck was this from 2000? The prettiest game I've ever seen in my damn life.
Magical Vacation? Oh, come on. My fucking alarm didn't go off. The fuck? Okay, just like, let me check for that. If we have that, if that's on Oh my god. There's a fan translation. This looks cute. Adventure RPG for Game Boy in the Magical Kingdom. You erupt for 3 days, but it was kept secret from ordinary citizens. A man traveled over the country preparation for the next battle several years later. Okay. Sounds fun. Oh, fuck. I wasn't recording.
How the fuck was this from 2001? This shit looks like a console swan song, but it popped out of the oven less than a full term after the GBA dropped.
Okay, just let me...
How the fuck was this Brownie Brown's first game? Okay, well, that one's a bit more obvious. Both its founders originally worked on the Mana games, which are similarly the cream of their crops. This game is so gorgeous that the first time I saw a gif of it, I assumed I was looking at a piece of modern-day pixel art, and that's kind of what this game feels like as a whole. The most idealistic of retro throwback indie games. It's got the modern sensibilities of putting a greater emphasis on character-driven story. As to be expected for a GBA game, its soundtrack sits somewhere between the 8 and 16-bit generations. There's a lot of Chrono Trigger DNA here too. What a jaw-dropping prologue this thing has altogether. You're dropped into the world in media res with a cast of magic school kids who all have long-standing friendships and feelings about one another, shipped off to a beach with your teacher to explore and chat everyone up, and man, the tone is just pitch perfect every step of the way. It takes an incredibly careful tightrope act to nail this balance of familiarity and mystery. Like, you really get the feeling you know these characters already, just as much as you feel like an outsider in their ranks. Which is funny, because my name more or less fit into the cast's naming scheme just by pure happenstance. Pistachio, Arancia, Cider, Olive, Hazel. I'll be straight up, as soon as there was combat, I stopped playing. It's not even that I didn't like the combat, I just wanted the whole thing to be this sort of small, quiet, interpersonal, darling little thing. This is someone's game, though. I have no idea how it took me so long to learn about it. I played Magical Star Sign back in the day. I bought it because I had a gift card to an FYE that was closing down, so it was marked down a ridiculous amount, and there was nothing else there I wanted. Yeah, that game didn't sell very well, did it? No wonder this one's even more obscure. It kind of seemed like Brownie Brown was fighting an uphill battle until they rebranded as 1UP and started co-developing for first-party Nintendo games. They didn't have it love Delic bad or anything, but there wasn't nearly as much a market for the kinds of delicate, low-key games they were making as there is today. This was the studio Level 5 subcontracted to make London Life for Layton Part 4, after all. Listen, I'm not trying to rustle anybody's feathers here, but this is fucking dire. Brownie Brown was making weirdo, experimental,
Okay, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break. I need to use the bathroom real quick.
Almost ambient quality to them, and then they just got chewed up and spat out into a Nintendo workhorse. I hope the staff has found stable employment under this new business structure, and they're doing phenomenal work for the company, but I can't
Oh my god.
imagine what kind of games they could have been putting out over the last 2 decades. Well, as it turns out, I actually don't have to ask, because totally unbeknownst to me, Main Big Dog jumped ship at some point and formed a new studio, DMM Games, that recently changed their name to Brownies Inc. I can't speak to the quality of the games they've put out, but their mobile title, Eglia, The Legend of Red Hat, looks to have just had an enhanced Switch port announced for the
Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna use this. Okay. I'm gonna pee real quick and then I might play some Bomberman for a little bit until it's time to get to the rest of the drawing. Oh my god, I need. Ah, God. Hey, y'all. Back. Okay, I'm just gonna close this. Okay, sweet.
Japanese market.
Fun.
We'll see a translation over here since some of the mobile.
Oh,
versions
okay,
made over
sweet.
Anyway, that's exciting. Some devs with cult pedigrees splintering off to start their own studios has, as I'm sure you know, been a mixed bag. But hey, it's still worth keeping an eye out for these things when they happen. But you know, for as beautiful as Magical Vacation is, Flare is a different thing. And by all accounts, looks about as substandard as an early 90s RPG.
Sorry, I'm just taking a bite.
Well, admittedly, it's pretty average, but it's cute. Much more orphan girl Tamara, raised by
Oh my god.
Dragon Tribe. This
Oh my god, that's so good.
means
Holy shit.
drives the plot forward as your standard evil force threatening the world, 5 relics spread across the land to be recovered, yada 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 fare. But it's a means to an end. Acher-chan and Tamarin are really cute. Stoic, dutiful boy and wistful outcast girl is always a fun dynamic.
What? The fuck?
And really, that's a big part of what makes this game feel so much like a season of an anime. The emotive sprites do some legwork, absolutely, but the characters would feel right at home within the artistic canon of dudes like Ryo Mizuno. Gotta love this washed-up adventurer dude's mutton chop to mustache pipeline. That right there is a character archetype unto itself. Range. Shit. Yeah, so this game is weirdly disinterested in its own combat. Your team is controlled automatically except for Atrishan, and even then you attacked by just kind of walking into dudes. Because it's turn-based, it's not quite Humpy-Bumpy style action like you'd see in Ys or
Oh,
Lagoon,
there it
but
is.
it's definitely taking a page from that book. Look, I'll be honest here, I forgot to make save states while playing and wound up dying to some basic bitch enemies because I wasn't paying enough attention, and I just didn't have time to get back to that point. But I have played a good bit further on my Vita, so apologies for the brevity. Look, there's really only so many ways to say this game is brisk and cute and fun, and I like the characters. Emerald Dragon was helmed by
It's had save.
ported to
Fuck.
basically every home
Fuck.
computer and console
Okay.
in Japan at the time. The computer lineage makes the combat make a bit more sense, huh? It's clear this is a story Kimura really believes in, as he's produced doujin works for the game as well as spiritual successors.
Wait, let me
fleshing out
see.
the story even further in all but name. He's been doing this shit as recent as 2015 too, 26 years after
Porn
the
game?
game came out.
Doujin?
That's dedication. I think that
Doujin?
in itself merits
Porn?
the game a look for anyone itching for a lesser-known JRPG to give them some street cred. So, Shining Force is the first RPG I ever played, which, having been born in the mid-1990s, makes that kind of weird, right? Not to mention that it's far from an archetypical or foundational example of what RPGs are like. Probably explains at least a portion of what's wrong with my weird little brain now. I talked about it in my Sonic Adventure video, but it's all Sega Smash Pack 2, baby. I was like 4 or 5 when I played it. I could barely read, I was dumb as bricks, and I don't know if I just didn't know how to save or if the saving feature was busted in my copy of the Smash Pack, but I have probably played this opening sequence 50 fucking times. Maybe about 3 of them I actually completed a battle. The way Simone looks up at you from that big book when you boot up the game is tattooed into my brain. I have a suspicion I could draw the first screen of actual gameplay from memory. So, what's it like to return to as a fully grown woman for the first time in 20 years? It's fucking great! As it turns out, this is a pretty perfect entry into the tactical role-playing genre. It's dead simple, no permadeath, no confusing weapon or terrain typing systems, a relatively modest party size with clearly delineated roles. In addition, it carries more standard turn-based conventions than you might expect. Like, there are full-on towns and an overworld, and the towns are nicely fleshed out. NPCs don't necessarily have enthralling dialogue at every turn, but there are a lot of hidden trinkets, and the cast of playable units are integrated therein quite naturally. You enter a village to speak to their king, and on the way you hear a few residents talk about this girl, Chris, who's gone missing. This is normal for her. She's got her eyes set on becoming an adventurer after all, and then boom, a bit later she appears to help you out of a pickle and joins your party. Nothing revolutionary, but I certainly wasn't expecting much in the way of continuity while playing. It makes the whole thing feel like your own personal adventure rather than a war you're waging from behind the scenes. What also contributes to this is how the maps you're battling on are all environments you can explore normally otherwise, either on the world map or in towns you're defending. It makes me wonder how they designed these areas, whether it was primarily with a level designer's eye or with a sense of place in mind above all else. When I think of TRPGs, I think of a series of battles strung together by some intermittent dialogue and downtime in a handful of menus, and functionally that's still true. There's just more pizzazz to the whole thing. Well, the menus are still kinda rough, to be fair. I spent more time than I would have liked navigating through option drop-downs within option drop-downs to make sure my party was decently stocked up with items for battle. I love tactical RPG combat, but I admit it's slow going. The bigger the party, the bigger the enemy army, the more turns it's going to take to clean up shop. So there are about 4 missions in each of Shining Force's 8 chapters. It totals out to more meat than that might sound, and the comfortable difficulty curve reflects as such, but I found myself wanting to grind here and there just 'cause I was having a good time with it. But if there aren't side missions or dedicated training areas or ways to replay old missions or anything, how do you even grind? At the beginning of the game, the protagonist starts with a single ability, Egress. This lets you flee a battle at any time, to be restarted after you've stocked up and decided you're ready to go at it again. While this is theoretically here, primarily to give you an out if things aren't looking hopeful, you can also bounce out of battle when there's only a single enemy trooper left, rinse and repeat, to even out your team's level. I can't say if this is strictly necessary, but it's neat. There's no penalty whatsoever. You know, my first play session with this thing was actually cut woefully short because I started falling asleep. It wasn't even boring me or anything, but it was getting late and the whole thing's hypnotic rhythm began to lull me, make my eyes heavy. That shit had me straight up feeling like the sleepy time tea bear. Wait, what? Huh? What the fuck? I'm probably speaking out of my ass here because I have about as much interest in Western fantasy media as I do figuring out how to properly file my taxes for my bizarre job next year. Oh god. But if a game series like
What?
is a sort of oh god. But if a game series like Langrisser is a sort of Lord of the Rings with bikini armor deal, the Shining games skew way more in line with The Hobbit. Tragically, no bikini armor, at least not in the first Shining Force, but everyone's so damn cute, I can't
Oh my god, I love her!
The first 2 Shining Force games have some
Oh my god, I love that art style!
Everyone's big 90s anime hair and expressive eyes mesh with the almost Western sensibilities of their proportions really nicely.
I love the
One
nose.
more shining example of hilariously mismatched American box art. We got manly muscle fuck over here, dual wielding a sword and a knife to fend off some pissed off
Jesus.
In reality, your little guy is just some ginger twink named Max rocking an iron oven mitt. I gotta shout out the GBA remake, which in all regards seems to be the better experience. Even if there were some concessions to be made for that version or whatever, it's automatically the better experience because you don't have to get your fucking corneas torn asunder by the
Jesus.
lights in battle. Still, I wanted to stick with the OG since it was what I knew, so that was what I played. The Shining series, no relation to the Stephen King novel, is one I really want to dive all the way into. I'm so impressed by how much Camelot was able to do with their consistently too small budgets. And yeah, those Mario sports games rule too. Alright, I don't want to hear one fucking peep out of any of you meme lords. Because I just found out there's a Garfield RPG released in 2006 exclusively for Java cell phones.
What?
2 Royal Adventure is a loose retelling of the 2006 film Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. Which Garfield Java cell phone game this is a sequel to, I don't fucking know. Java phone games are fucking weird, dude. I played Mega Man 2 on a flip phone where the fire button was at the dead center of the arrow keys.
Why?
Wolfenstein RPG on a different flip phone.
Why?
Yeah, there was a cell phone exclusive Wolfenstein RPG. And
That's
don't
insane.
Quote me on this, but I feel like I've heard it was canon. True fucking Bizarro Land shit, and that's just what we got in the States. An entire subgenre of lost media is Japanese cell phone games, and I don't even want to know what kind of Hugo games they had on Euro phones. Did Brazil have cell phone games? Fucking Super Pizzeria Bate Papo Brothers? Sonic Jam 69? Did they make a Dendy phone? This could be a video unto itself. Not now though, because I'm tits deep into editing this video and only just now writing and recording this section. I cannot be fucked to get a Java phone emulator up and running on a moment's notice. So yeah, I haven't even played this fucking thing. I just watched some footage of it and it seems pretty good. Pretty. Anime. I feel like everyone has one Famicom RPG in their system. One mercilessly dated, almost hostile experience that just kind of works for them, even when most other titles from the era are turnoffs. I can't quite say what makes 1989's Ghost Lion the one for me. Maybe it's the particular unconventional ways it simplifies the RPG formula, or maybe it's the big portraits of the
God, I need to
display
not
in a
be
boat as you
distracted.
have enemies
Fuck.
in battle
Okay.
that make
Maybe
it
he's
feel
right.
like
Maybe I
it's
shouldn't
just
have these on. Oh my god.
8-bit titles. Maybe it's just how mysterious the whole thing feels. Like most games of
Yeah,
this type,
honestly,
the story is
I would just
very
have to,
certain.
once I'm done with
You're
this, I could just add a background and it's good, honestly.
It's another title that's streamlined in all these bizarre ways, but it's a good bit more successful here than it is in My World, My Way, which in a sense almost feels like a spiritual successor. You've only got 3 visible stats: hope, courage, and dream, which translate to your level, HP, and MP. There's not even
Is
any
it-
experience. You only gain money from battles, so instead you level up by finding single-use items that raise your level. This means that grinding is totally obsolete outside of money, and your character progression is more or less synced completely to the story progression. It's a neat system that I must admit doesn't pan out fully in the game's favor. The difficulty curve is kind of all over the place as a result. The battle system has this fun twist where you're exclusively interfacing with battles through the item menu, so you select your weapon to attack, items to heal, etc. In addition, you have summons that can either protect or fight alongside the protagonist, who require a small MP cost to summon. These are effectively your party members. What's unfortunate is that because things are so stripped back, simply using basic attacks is almost always the single best strategy, and attempting to worry too much about setting up strong lines of defense will usually put you within an inch of death. Ghost Lion's biggest fault is just being slow, honestly. Battles take their time, there's no run button, or their instant teleports. Dungeons are super small though, so it's not too much of a time waster to bounce back to the nearby towns to heal up. The fast forward feature on your emulator is gonna be your friend, and helps the whole thing to feel even more brisk. The whole thing follows a pretty strict format. You go to town, are told, hey, there's an item you need to get from a small cave that you can use in a slightly bigger cave to get to the next area, and then you go and you do exactly that, then it's on to the next chunk of the overworld. This is a big part of what makes it so easy to play. That consistent flow carries the pacing. Of course, this is told in fairly standard Castlevania 2 isms. A dude will say, the person who sees the shining dog's eye will be able to obtain the horn. And then you go into a dungeon and find an item literally called Dog's Eye. Then you use that at the end of the next dungeon and obtain a horn that can be used to progress further. If you ever played the DS Game Center CX game released in America as Retro Game Challenge, this feels a lot like the RPG they're in. Also, the first town is called Bread. Gotta love that they just ripped the Red Mage sprite more or less wholesale out of Final Fantasy. Good stuff. Ghost Lion is incredibly loosely based on a very obscure film, Beyond the Pyramids: Legend of the White Lion. It was an American-Japanese co-production that only saw release in Japan, despite being entirely in English, at a whopping hour and 50 minutes. It's pretty lengthy for a children's film. It's no wonder such a bizarre piece of ephemera remained strictly a relic of the VHS era. You know you're in bad shape when your movie is more obscure than its largely forgotten NES tie-in. At least Sweet Home has the Kiyoshi Kurosawa pedigree to it. Listen, I know this constitutes both the biggest graphical leap in this video, going from dinky baby Dragon Quest pixels to big dick GameCube graphics, and I know it looks like I'm really stretching the definition of anime RPG here, but listen. From Software wouldn't be shit without dinky baby Dragon Quests, and it doubly wouldn't be shit without Berserk. And Lost Kingdoms 2 is extremely example here. It's covered in the Berserk sauce. The protagonist is an outcast member of a traveling gang of thieves called the Band of the Scorpion, for Christ's sake. It's anime enough. The main girl's name is Tara Grimface. She's different from everyone else because she's got a fidget spinner. She's at least as anime as the Britney Spears Break the Ice music video. If you still don't buy it, look at this fucking guy's design. I rest my case. There is one thing I need to split hairs about, though. Some wires got crossed big time while From Software's games were being brought over to the West in the 2000s. In Japan, Evergrace and its sequel are known as Evergrace and Evergrace 2. However, when Agetec localized both titles, they did so under the names Evergrace and Forever Kingdom. Weird choice, but fair play considering Evergrace wasn't especially well received. But then, 2 months later, Activision busts onto the scene, having localized Rune as Lost Kingdoms. Then, a year later, Rune 2 was localized as Lost Kingdoms 2. In their own camps, these are perfectly normal, but come on. How much more confusing could it get trying to keep track of which is which? Now on to the fact that Evergrace 2 localized
I
as
think
Forever
I
Kingdom
did it.
has a
I just need to do
location
this real
called
quick.
Forgotten Valley. It's a miracle I haven't accidentally called Forever Kingdom. Fuck, I meant to write in my script Lost Kingdoms 2 here.
Jesus.
It's a miracle I haven't accidentally called Lost Kingdoms 2 Kingdom Hearts. Factor in Vandal Hearts, Dual Hearts, Shadow Hearts, Shadow Tower, Tower of Druaga, Nightmare of Druaga, Princess Nightmare, Princess of Darkness, Ark the Lad, End of Darkness, Star Ocean, till the end of time, Growlancer, Wayfarers of Time, Growlancer Generations, Generations of Chaos Desire, Demon Chaos, Makin Shao, Demon Sword, Swords of Destiny, Shadow of Destiny, also known as Shadow of Memories, Kingdom Hearts, Rechain of Memories, and you'd half expect me to be calling Forever Kingdom, featuring a location called Forgotten Valley, known in Japan as Evergrace 2, released on January 22 of 2002 for the Sony PlayStation 2, some shit like Hidden Valley Ranch 2. I know I've unintentionally made a career of brazenly championing artistic underdogs to a degree that often reaches recursive contrarianism, but listen, I think I found the FromSoft game for me. I'm serious. I adore this thing. Something about it just took my breath away. Maybe part of it is an expectations thing. I'm not a FromSoft hater, but I'm way too much of a dabbler to get anything substantive out of the Souls games. And I don't care enough about being good at video games to push through for the sake of the emergent story born from getting my ass handed to me a billion times in a row. I see the appeal. I've tasted the appeal. I beat the Capra Demon on my first try, and that's not a joke. Souls games just aren't for me. I'm not busted up about it. I don't think listening to a game's soundtrack without having played it makes you a poser, but Evergrace is a game I know I will beat one day.
God, what the fuck is this? Oh my god, how do I make it not show?
Play it, just look at it with my own eyes and my own 2 ears, and I did, and it's pretty good. The FromSoft titles I've played up to this point are fairly emblematic of the archetypical From Software tone. The despondent laughter in the distance, nothing telling you fuck all anywhere, shit just kinda happening, everything taking place in post-history. It's easy to assume Cookie and Cream is the only outlier in their non-mech catalog. But take it from me, funky little Hazel. Lost Kingdoms 2 is about as accessible, transparent, and friendly as one of these games can get, shy of, say, Enchanted Arms. Which helps, because on paper it's kind of a doozy. So I'm not going to explain it in depth. Within an hour, I knew everything I felt like I needed to know, and was having a good time feeling out the intricacies as I went. I promise, when I say it's an action deck building card RPG, you don't have to brace yourself for Chain of Memories flashbacks. The game jokingly refuses to give you a combat tutorial in the starting area, but proceeds to be quite detailed in making sure you're not lost. Likewise, any and all environmental puzzles boil down to clear, understandable logic, at least from what I played.
Hey, wait for me! I want to play too!
Okay, I'm good. We're done with this.
Monster friend.
For now, I'm just gonna play
It's not exactly
Bomberman real quick, and then I'm gonna add a little bit more line art to the top
winds up contributing to
and
lots
add
of
the backgrounds, and we're good.
which is epitomized by Kadishu, the first town.
Oh my god. Fucking hell.
Does not get better than this. The crummy old grass and cobblestone paths, the ever so slightly wonky architecture, how big it feels relative to everyone's size. It comes pretty close to feeling one-to-one with the characters, who are all, of course, standing around a good, 8 feet apart from one another, chatting about who knows what. Every good JRPG town has kids aimlessly circling a fountain.
Back
Just leave
order.
their stuff outside, and it's fine and safe to do so. There are horses chilling peacefully in their stables. This dog waltzes up to you and follows you around, where you find a demon hound
Where is this?
card in a
Okay.
chest. A whole bunch of pigeons hang around and scatter when you walk by. I love those guys. There's a hill that overlooks much of the town, and since the distance fog is so slight, it tints buildings and figures in the distance rather than obscuring them flat out. It's a place that feels tranquil, but that still carries a bit of baggage, a bit of melancholy to it, reflected perfectly by the town's theme.
Okay. Let's just play for a little bit, and then I'm gonna return to the rest of this comic, finish it up, and then we could just make funny meme time. Funny meme time.
This song is one of my favorite Kota Hoshino compositions.
Okay.
Which is a lot, because Kota Hoshino is one of my favorite game
This game is so hard.
ever. It's just a genius piece of
Oh wait, I can just
writing.
I can pause these while I do this. I don't have to worry too much. Well, that's a thing. Unmute this. No. These games are fucking bullshit. I do like Bomberman as like a puzzle game though. It's a really they're really cool puzzle games, I'd say. They're really good as puzzle games. Come on. Okay. Come on, die. Yes. Oh my god, please move, please move, please move. Okay, sweet. That's perfect. No, 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 no. Really? What the fuck? This is so annoying. Come on. Okay. No! Oh my god, no! No! Okay. My god, this sucks. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, this is like literally... I don't think this is like literally the last level. It's obviously not the last level, but it is it is close. It might be the second to last level. Like, I don't know. Oh god. I think from what I remember from watching that video. One sec. Okay. Me.
With a 7-note-long sample from what I think is Mozart's Queen of the Night on violin.
Sorry, I'm just setting up.
And that's it. That's fucking it. The strings never come back. And it becomes a song based around a very simple, steady drum pattern, some MIDI woodwinds, an upright bass, and a pitch-bending electric piano. That's so fucking cool. Like, who does that? That's amazing. The composition gives off this feeling of cautious hopefulness that speaks very profoundly to me. If ever there was a song that captured the feeling of returning to an old haunt as an outsider, it's this one.
Come on.
Hello, we've more or less reached the halfway point in this.
Jesus.
Kinda
Oh my
crazy.
god.
I really didn't expect this thing to get that long. Thanks for sticking around. I want to make a quick aside to say that, yeah, things have slowed down here a little bit. Like, did you see that intro? It'll be like late January by the time this thing is finished. I've been fighting off a repetitive stress injury from working non-stop last year, and I've had to take some time to get set up with tools to do this job more ergonomically, which wouldn't be possible at all without the help of the folks supporting me on Patreon, whose names you
Okay,
see.
so basically I'm gonna add a background
This is
here,
an issue
and
that's pretty specific.
basically
and
I might just
most
add a background
solutions seem to
here.
either come from word of mouth or prohibitively
And here.
expensive
Yeah, that sounds good.
consultations. I'd show you my solution that for now seems to work pretty well. This is still a work in progress, and I guess I should specify I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. Hopefully my openly endorsing software piracy earlier has made it clear that's
You've been
not really
known.
my style. So, here it all is. First off, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room. My fingernails. They look like shit right now.
No.
I can't find our nail polish remover. Okay, for real though, the actual elephant in the room, this trackpad, I mean. When I was a teen, I fucking hated these things, but the elegance of the gestures of the Apple Magic trackpad has made it
Is that the Booba thing?
absolutely instrumental to my
Nice.
workflow. Using a normal mouse for any kind of editing software feels absolutely sick and twisted, dog. I'm telling you. So I got an external one so I don't have to lean
Okay.
inwards and keep my wrists and elbows hell of bent to reach the one at the dead center of my laptop. Also, yeah, I use a dust cover for my laptop's keyboard. The real thing isn't actually that worn down. Okay, I know what you want me to address. I have a titty mouse pad. It helps keep my wrist at a comfortable angle. Honestly, my one complaint is that there aren't more mouse pads for characters I really love. So next up, yeah, I have an external mechanical keyboard. I just got this thing and I'm still feeling it out. It's the first mechanical keyboard I've ever used, and I'm definitely having some growing pains with it.
Alright.
Supreme nitpick,
Gonna
but
download
I
this.
kind of think RGB is overrated. If I were typing and my shit looks like this all day, it'd distract the fucking hell out of me. I also have sensitive little eyes. I also have to say the whole typing ASMR thing just doesn't really work on me
Let's
much
see.
either. I wear headphones all day. I listen to music when I write these scripts, so the only people who are even gonna
see.
hear me do all this typing are my darling wife and baby son, who are probably very sick of this sound, but
Wait, you have a
here it is
baby?
anyway.
Oh my
The music
god.
runs. Having a keyboard
So
basically
cute.
helps a lot. My elbows
I love
never
her.
have to make direct contact with the edge of my
Okay,
desk anymore,
let's try this.
but it's just not as ergonomic as I want. Having to hold the shift and command keys with my pinky just feels kind of rough to me now that I'm used to something different. So I hate to say it, but I might have to start looking into using a split ortholinear keyboard. Even just
Oh.
typing this section is a little uncomfortable. And yeah, I type weird. I know, don't worry about it. It makes sense to me. So, what is that something different, you ask? This guy, my Razer Tartarus. It kind of seems like some ridiculous gamer bullshit, and it definitely is ridiculous gamer bullshit, but
Where
this
is
thing
it? Oh
straight
my
up
god.
the MVP. It's ridiculously
Maybe
comfortable,
it's-
and with Carabiner, it's totally
I can't- I
mountable
see
even
it.
on Mac, and it's made apparent just how cumbersome the
Wait a
keyboard
minute.
and mouse interface approaches for editing software. I've heard before that your thumb is your strongest finger or more dexterous
Oh, God.
or something. I don't know, it goes to show just
Alright,
how
just a sec.
compromising and how we interface with computers. All the more so when it's something you do, say, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and your name is Hazel and it's the year 2021. But I don't have to live that way anymore, and it's all thanks to my lovely patrons. Like I said at the top, if you find yourself having questions about my setup or any of these games or whatever, and you want to hear me answer them with my own voice in, say, a video on my second channel, you can do that by donating any amount of money a month. Only do it if you want to, though. Alright, back to the games. You know what was a great console for action RPGs? The Mega Drive. Yeah, that's right, I'm calling it the Mega Drive. That's what it's called everywhere outside of North America. Might as well, right? It's like saying ZX Spectrum. I'm not quite sure what it was that made the Mega Drive so conducive to action RPGs, but many of what non-believers refer to as the console's Zelda clones have an emphasis on numbers your average Zelda would balk at. Beyond Oasis, Landstalker, a handful of Ys games, and Popful Mail, special shouts out go to the Monster World games, specifically Wonder Boy and Monster World with its bright, bubbly, Memel-inspired pixel art, and the softball batter precision and weight of its kinesthetics, and especially Monster World 4, which is one of the best games ever made, full stop. The Thousand Knives of Ryuichi Sakamoto influence on Jin Watanabe's score makes it one of my absolute favorites on the console. Seriously, if you predominantly listen to video game music, that's totally fine, but I highly recommend you check out Yellow Magic Orchestra and its related side projects. Alongside 70s prog bands like Yes and ELP, there is no body of music with a greater impact on video game scores and like music as a whole than Yellow Magic Orchestra. The thing, but it's called everywhere.
Hello?
outside of North
Okay, I'm back.
America.
Sorry.
Might as well,
I
right?
had to call it to my brother.
ZX Spectrum. I'm not quite sure
Oh my god.
what it was that made the thing that's up or any of these games or whatever, and you want to hear me answer them with my own voice in, say, a video on my second channel.
Oh my
You
god.
can do that by donating any amount of money a month. Only do it if you want to, though. Alright.
God. Oh my god, this is so good.
You know what was a great console for action RPGs? The Mega Drive. Yeah, that's right. I'm calling it the Mega Drive. That's what it's called everywhere outside of North America. Might as well, right? It's like saying ZX Spectrum. I'm not quite sure what it was that made the Mega Drive so conducive to action RPGs, but many of what non-believers refer to as the console's Zelda clones have an emphasis on numbers your average Zelda would balk at. Beyond Oasis, Landstalker, a handful of Ys games, and Popful Mail, special shouts out go to the Monster World games, specifically Wonder Boy in Monster World with its bright, bubbly, Memel-inspired pixel art, and the softball batter precision and weight of its kinesthetics, and especially Monster World 4,
What the
which
fuck is going on?
the best games ever made, full stop. The Thousand Knives of Ryuichi Sakamoto influence on Jin Watanabe's score makes it one of my absolute favorites on the console. Seriously, if you predominantly listen to video game music, that's totally fine, but I highly recommend you check out Yellow Magic Orchestra and its related side projects. Alongside 70s prog bands like Yes and ELP, there is no body of music with a greater impact on video game scores and like music as a whole than Yellow Magic Orchestra.
This is so fucking weird. Like, I'm okay if it takes a while, but like... Holy shit! This is so annoying. I was really excited to experiment with this. Wait, what? What? Okay. Thanks, computer. Thanks, computer. Okay, that slaps.
Even amidst all those standout Mega Drive titles, though, I think my favorite of the bunch is Crusader of Senti, known in Japan as Shin Soseki Ragna Senti.
Okay.
Which, coincidentally,
God, this is so annoying.
hilariously similar in meaning to Evangelion's Japanese name. This one really stretches the definition of JRPG, and it's been a few years since I've played through the whole thing, so I'll be a bit brief. While far from the most technically deft, the game feels unlike any other top-down adventure game. You've got this circular turning movement with just the right amount of momentum. You have this fun little sword-throwing technique.
I was really excited to like test this stuff out.
Befriending little animal buddies. It's super
Well, we'll
cute.
see.
Where it shines most, though, is the writing. While simple and somewhat clunkily translated, it's got the perfect balance of smarm and heart. I don't want to spoil anything, but it goes some really fascinating and impressive places for the time. And it has a Sonic reference.
Oh my god, it
It's about
worked!
as incoherent as well, anything else in this video, I'm sure. But in the past, I've described Crusader of Senti as being like a quintet game doing the DreamWorks eyebrow. If that doesn't make any sense, well, congrats on being normal, but I'll inform you anyway. Quintet was established in 1989 by former Nihon
Fucking,
Falcom developers
fucking brutal.
Tomoyoshi Miyazaki and Masaya Hashimoto. The
Fucking
studio is best known for
brutal.
its two Super Nintendo series,
Oh my god.
ActRaiser and the Gaia trilogy, which is made up of Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma. These games are loosely thematically connected, and as such, the later two, more polished outings are better remembered. Soul Blazer is the only game of the bunch I've played, but it's really stuck with me. This is in part because it was my go-to before bed game when I first soft-modded my Vita, and it did a wonderful job of injecting melatonin directly into my brain. That makes it sound dull, but I assure you it's not. Rather, it's a game about restoring a disheveled world brick by brick, so it's perfect
Oh,
to
that
take
sounds
piecemeal, to
cute.
chip away at while still making progress each time you play. The action is dead simple. Most stages see your primary strategy being find the sweet spot where you can cheese dudes before they hit you, but that's fun in its own right, at least for me. It always feels like I've got the upper hand on the game itself. It's a bit of a proto-Dark Cloud too, where your attention is split between these action stages and the towns you're
Where
healing.
is
There's no city building mechanic outright, you'll have to look to ActRaiser for that. In Soul Blazer, it's all done automatically, so you instead spend time interacting with the town, which opens up new pathways and items for the action areas. In my opinion, this is where the game really shines. This is a sort of wise, grandfatherly old game. Your role is that of a freshly created warrior, purpose-built to save the Earth, so inherently the protagonist isn't much of a character, so you spend your time listening. Everything speaks very gently, very earnestly to you, and I do mean everything. People, plants, goats, you name it. Everything speaks in Soul Blazer's world because in Soul Blazer's world, everything has equal value. Everything is doing its part and has its place within its many ecosystems. It was greed that tore everyone and everything apart, and it's up to you to put it all back together. You didn't ask to fill this role, but you'll fill it because it's the right thing to do. I called it a proto-Dark Cloud, but I'd like to go a step further and posit that, in this regard, it's also the first Strand-type game. Early on, an older woman asks if you can play the role of her child. You have no experiences or memories prior to your creation mere minutes ago, so you go along with it, with this collective fantasy. Because what is a video game if not a collective fantasy? Your controller inputs send an electrical signal to the console, which sends an electrical signal to your television to display a pocket universe authored by a number of individuals working together to craft their own collective fantasies. Much like your brain sends
Actually,
electrical
I'm
signals to your
curious.
hands, legs, nervous system, and back up again. He used to sit and rock here for hours, alone with no more than his thoughts. I cannot imagine the fortitude of mind one would have to possess in order to just sit, occupied only by the gentle swaying of a rocking chair, itself propelled by the persistence of slight rhythmic motion. Okay, this is getting a bit ridiculous. I'm gonna tap out for a sec and give the floor to my dear friend, bandmate, and podcast co-host, Nikki, to share some of their thoughts on what even makes an RPG cozy to begin with. I'll be right back after, though. I've still got plenty of games to cover.
Hey, I'm Nikki, Hazel's friend, sharer of birthdays, and frequent collaborator. I'm just going to talk to you for a minute. While there are a lot of games that give off outwardly comforting vibes, like a lot of the ones that Hazel's mentioned, or my dear, sweet, darling Dragon Quest, I'd like to make the point that the entire genre works as comfort food. Even the fucked up, evil, scary ones. And the primary example I'm going to use here is the Shin Megami Tensei series, a series made famous for its scrotum-crushing difficulty. That's on the back of the box. You can actually just look right there for yourself. And hey, I'm not talking about the spin-offs either. I'm talking about that crunchy, abrasive mainline shit. Motherfuckers that smirk, Nocturne, satanic shit. Over the course of late 2020 to late 2021, I managed to play through Shin Megami Tensei for the Super Famicom, Shin Megami Tensei 2 for the Super Famicom, Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster for the Nintendo Switch, Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey for the Nintendo 3DS,
Okay,
Shin Megami Tensei 4 for the Nintendo 3DS, and Shin Megami Tensei 5 for Nintendo Switch. I didn't really get to make time for S&T If
Where is
or
it?
Apocalypse, so I'm just saving those as morsels for later. I know that as much as that gives me demonic street cred, it also kind of makes my argument weird because I totally could have tricked myself over the past entire year into thinking these games aren't that bad. And while that's sort of true, stick with me. I'm kind of talking about more than just the series where Jack Frost tells you to suck his nuts here. Much like when I got into Dragon Quest a few years ago, diving face first into Shin Megami Tensei has actually made me learn a whole lot about what makes the genre of JRPGs tick, and how that's affecting my personal taste and how I approach the genre. Weirdly enough, even though I'd probably say Final Fantasy is my favorite RPG series, I don't feel like I get to learn that much about the genre mechanically through those games, except Final Fantasy V. That game taught me that unlike real fucking life, jobs fucking rock. And with Shin Megami Tensei, I think I learned a lot and even developed my relationship with video game difficulty, which kind of fed into my appreciation for all other parts of the game. Sometimes, the game whoops your ass so hard that you start to wander around and go, fuck. And then you kind of look around at the environment and listen to the music as a sort of solace takes over you while you regain your fucking key energy for your next attempt, and you go, next time, I'm gonna get that Minotaur's ass. I feel like the most obvious way that I've ended up coming around to these games as comfort food is that, like, I don't know, I think evil shit is cool. I'm literally sitting here writing this right now, listening to Seisha, Jerome's Dream, Portraits of Past. I'm listening to some harsh shit. I used to do homework in high school listening to Boredoms on my iPod.
Okay, I actually forgot Nikki wrote this until I was editing. I actually did the same shit. Vision Creation New Sun and Super 8 are all time.
What the
I
fuck?
find loud, noisy shit really chill to zone out to. And a lot of people, including you, like to watch horror movies in your spare time. I see you, and Shin Megami Tensei scratches that same itch for like 80 hours. It won't jump out and scare you, but it will instill some serious dread that, honestly fucking owns. I love that shit. We should, as a video gaming public, push to broaden the definition of horror game to include shit like Shin Megami Tensei and Baroque and
Wait, Shin
dare
Megami
I
Tensei
say,
isn't counted?
Dark Souls. Horror movies aren't all haunted houses. I think there's also the simple fact of knowing that these are not impossible games by any means. In fact, genuine recommendation here, if you want a good old easy RPG, not even pulling your leg, check out the very first Shin Megami Tensei on Super Famicom. Let your eyes adjust to the weird first-person scrolling that extremely rules and kicks ass, and just like explore and poke around. Pretty fun, right? Unique vibes, huh? Regular RPG shit, but in a new, fresh, interesting setting. Late 90s society on the verge of collapse shit. You gotta love it. Now cast either the spells Zio or Bufu, the lightning or ice spells, respectively. You'll notice that demon idiot just got shocked and or frozen and lost a turn. That's weird. Now it's your turn again. What if I told you this is
Why
true
can't I
for
do
literally
anything?
the entire fucking game, all of the time, every turn if you wanted?
A sec. This is weird. Listen, I know it's been Monday today, but it's also my fucking stream. So I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. Where is it? Motherfucker. Really? I've seen you make the video. Are you dead? Yeah, okay. Literally, why can't I find this? This is so weird. This is so fucked up. This is so fucked up. What the fuck? Tutorial, I know that exists, but why are you here? Go away. Go away. I don't want politics involved in my videos. That's it. Simple. Oh yeah, this video is perfect. By the way.
SpongeBob, me boy, you're 2 seconds late for work, boy. Get in the kitchen and make me some money, eh?
Shut up, Mr. Krabs! Shut the fuck up! Listen here, Krabs. Me and Squidward quit, and we gave the formula to Plankton.
Fuck you!
It's a good video. It's probably one of my favorites. Okay, I guess I gotta go through my history, which I really don't want to do. So I'm gonna keep playing this video while
Folks, the game is busted. Atlas should have called this motherfucker Burger King, because you're about to have it your way. And it's a fun playthrough. If you get lost, the original Shin
Oh
Megami Tensei
god,
has the
I
distinction
just
of also having the best GameFAQs guide I've ever used. That dude basically thought of everything. The maps take a sec to be able to read, but it really is incredible stuff. Wonderful guide. I'd buy it in book form if I could. Honestly, outside of Shin Megami Tensei 2, which was a nightmare, all the games had really good and helpful
Okay, I got it.
guides online. For as annoying as a lot of the fans can be, those SMT guys are real informative motherfuckers. If you're not a guide user, then I still think the games, especially the more recent entries, are really well designed, and that more often than not makes them really hard to put down even when you're getting beat up on the regular. A very popular line of thought in video game criticism is that JRPGs are dull because they require you to grind.
What is going on?
Which is a thing that sucks. Now, while I'm a person that can see the beauty in a grind, being a very gradual but more importantly guaranteed method of improving your stats, making the game easier by default, I am sympathetic. Sometimes you feel like you have to do a really monotonous thing, and especially when you work a monotonous job.
I'm like on and off
really
with grinds.
don't wanna
It
do
depends on
this.
my mood
It
that
hurts
day,
the old morale,
honestly.
I get it. However, I'd earnestly say that in a lot of cases, especially with my favorite RPGs, it's clear that the developers don't want you to grind, at least not in a way that requires it feeling utterly joyless. Dragon Quest XI, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Shin Megami Tensei V all have lots of side quests, to varying degrees of quality to be fair, but a lot of those are entertaining enough, especially in SMT5.
What
to
the
gain your level while
fuck?
you're doing that stuff, so when you go back to the main story,
Holy
you're probably
shit,
gonna be slightly
what?
overleveled. Even more vital,
What
though, is
happened?
the idea that you don't even have to do that to get ahead. I feel like the best of these games just really want you to get clever, especially Nocturne and SMT.
Nah, fuck it.
Both
I'm going
of these
back.
games are my favorites in the SMT series, and they're games that let you modify every individual skill on your demons and even
Turn you back on
mental
the
affinities of your
shade.
main character. They allow you to get
Shade
really
mode
creative with your
activate.
setup, allowing you to
Shade
gain
mode
the edge on some
activate.
really wild
Okay.
bosses that should kick your ass otherwise. It's really fun stuff, and it's when the difficulty and comfort food nature of these games fully feel intertwined. I can totally just sit there, sprawled out on my couch, plotting my next move against my adversary, a literal angel from heaven, or like the devil's cousin or some shit. I can spend time talking to friends about different team setups and start plotting my own, recruiting more guys and all that
Okay.
stuff. It's awesome. These games get me rubbing my hands together, cackling.
Where is it?
And I love it. It really helps that these games are turn-based too. Embrace the slower pace. Relax and take a look at all your options. Use items. No
Oh,
one
wait,
uses
wait.
items. Use items. They help. The game will give you more, unless it's Soma's. So just take the chance. I love turn-based games for my chill-out time because I can very easily not let them overwhelm me. And I think that's really important. Truthfully, I think a lot of what I've been saying this far mainly just pertains to turn-based games. I'd have a harder time speaking for the more action-oriented parts of the genre, as there's execution to be improved upon on top of your strategy. And sometimes you're not in the damn mood. Lord knows Kingdom Hearts, despite its cozy exterior, has tested my fucking patience on more than one occasion. Fucking Birth by Sleep, god damn. Speaking of testing patience, Shin Megami Tensei has some fucking absurd level design. This is kind of geared more towards the dungeon crawler entry.
I wish they
series like
had like a no color
Journey, but applies to the
version
others to
of
some
these
degree as
neighborhoods.
well.
I think that would be really nice.
I think Atlas genuinely tries to see how many ridiculous mazes and teleporter fucking puzzles and one-way doors that can get away with in a given game, and it's just fucking perverted.
Wait.
I'm just sending Hazel a bunch of level maps right
Was
now.
that
Just
did I
to
see something?
what I'm talking about. Look at this
Outline?
shit.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty fucking ridiculous.
Look,
Oh my god.
look at that.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not trying to deter any of you with this. It's healthy to have a sense of humor with these games sometimes. Demons will kick your nuts and steal your money while you're trying to get them to join your team. The developers of these games will throw shit like these maps at you. It's hilarious. And you'll have a much better time with this shit if you can just accept how funny it all is. These guys are comedians, and sometimes the joke can be kind of fun. I honestly really liked Strange Journey, even though it felt like clocking into a fucking coal mine most of the time. The Canaries.
Where's the shadow intestine?
I, like a lot of people I think, like to think of JRPGs as different kinds of literature. Dragon Quest is a long, expansive, episodic bedtime story. Final Fantasy is a sweeping manga epic. Important distinction, IMHO. Fire Emblem is a political drama that you're trying to read on your phone, but like your group chat with your friends keeps interrupting you to talk about hunks and or babes. Persona is just a group chat, but everyone's venting. And the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series, those motherfuckers are some weird, dense sci-fi novels that spend too long describing a rundown bar that the characters just walked by. And in SMT's case, I think I get that feeling because of how little the game tells you outright. In Shin Megami Tensei, you're always working with an incomplete, flawed perspective of the world. Very rarely, if ever, do you get an establishing scene in which you are not present. These games started out as first person and still act as if you are.
I got an
When
idea.
you're ascending to godhood, you're still only yourself, and your view of the world is the only thing you can speak on with any certainty. These games ask you big questions and leave you with the same ending prompt. If you could, how would you shape the world as you see it? It's fascinating stuff to think about in regards to video game narrative. It's telling stories in both the micro and macro. You truly play as yourself, telling your own story as the game presents you vacant post-apocalypses and chooses not to lead you through them. You have to break your own ground and take in the sights and sounds, talk to the demons that inhabit it, and form your own little crew that turns into an honest-to-God fellowship of the ring of all-powerful motherfuckers dead set on killing God, Lucifer, or whoever stands at the top. Shin Megami Tensei is truly about role-playing. That makes its approach to the genre and spinning a narrative feel really fresh to this day. Even as recent as a couple years ago, I found myself kind of turned off of games like that first Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest III, or Etrian Odyssey, because of the idea that I'd have to just make a lineup of characters and kind of invent my own story to fill in the game's blanks. I like games that tell me the story, but I think Shin Megami Tensei has opened the doors for me to enjoy even more RPGs and by extension, find even more comfort food to chew on. I now desire the occasional game that shuts the fuck up and lets me just crunch numbers, optimize parties, and explore mazes all day. It's like working on a 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle or something, I don't know. I'm now a changed person, and I think it's extremely dope that Dragon Quest III is like that, and I keep looking at Etrian Odyssey like a T-bone steak, and I'm a pit bull that's already prepared my handkerchief and silverware. JRPGs probably qualify as my favorite genre of video game at this point, and I think with this arc I've gone through, I've ensured that I'll be eating good for a good long while. Alright, hey,
What?
that's all I got. You've got my PayPal. I'm gonna expect payment by the end of the month.
Literally, what the fuck?
Okay, I'm not actually talking about Moemon here, but let the record show that's my favorite way to replay the first generation of Pokemon games. A big part of Pokemon for me has always been getting attached to the Pokemon that just sort of wind up on my teams. So the added surprise of seeing how they look as anime girls has legit endeared me to a few mons I'd hardly bat an eye at prior. I had to at least acknowledge Moemon, because it doesn't get much more anime than Moe Blobs. Fret not, though. There's one particular SNES title chock full of cheapified anime girls that I've been dying to talk about.
Why?
Originally released in 1994 for the
What?
PC-98, later ported
Why does
to
it
the
look like
PC
this?
Engine and Super Famicom shortly after.
What the
Princess
fuck?
Minerva
This
was
is so
out
weird.
of context by the time it
No!
got to English-speaking
Okay.
hands. First things first, it was developed by
'Cause this is
River Hill
interesting.
Soft, who are all-time darlings of Nihon Jank. Now, that's a term I came up with off the dome, so allow me to explain. See, Eurojank refers to
This
a
looks
very
cool.
specific brand of video game.
Why does it not
CG,
look like
working in
this?
Dilapidated settings, a heightened level of detail that is arguably to nobody's benefit, obtuse or prohibitively strict mechanics made by small groups of like 12 dudes in a building that looks like this with a whole lot of gumption. Like, these games have such an absence of art direction in favor of low-budge realism that it is 100%
Oh my God.
an artistic style unto itself. I'm a big fan of the channel
Where
Demented
is it?
because it covers these games that will just never vibe with my artistic proclivities, but that anthropologically fascinate me to no end. Reflecting on this got me thinking, surely there's gotta be a cultural equivalent elsewhere, right? America's got, like, what, Five Nights at Freddy's fan games and pixel art indie games about life with irritable bowel syndrome. I think for Japanese games, it would be easy to go, well, that's just Kusoge, isn't it? Or maybe your mind goes right to Dojinsoft. I think it can appear in both, but it's a bit more
There you are.
mission statement. Eurojank is all about ambition, and in my mind, Nihonjank is about dedication. Most Japanese indies and small studios are run by otaku, and otaku are some of the most dedicated dudes in existence. And in pulling influences from the things they really love, trying to make their own version of that, this can sometimes breed games that are all at once heart on
Yeah,
sleeve
I can
derivative,
accept this.
forward-thinking, messy, overflowing with ideas, and most importantly, made with other dudes like them in mind. PC-98 catalogs are particularly elucidating in this regard. They're quite similar to Western demo scene collectives. A bunch of dudes coming together for the love of the craft in pursuit of pushing the hardware to the absolute limits and catching the eyes of a handful of spectators along the way. And hey, whose name is that there? River Hill Soft. If you don't know them for JB Harold, you probably know them for being the guys who made one of the first 3D survival horror titles with Dr. Hauser for the 3DO. Alone in the Dark gets the credit for coming out 2 years beforehand, and as a result, a lot of folks call Hauser an Alone in the Dark ripoff, but Hauser broke ground in its own ways. In particular, look at these fucking facial animations. That's impressive as fuck for a game that came out the same year as Donkey Kong Country.
What?
And of course, the game is still wonky and unintuitive as hell. You see this too with their later game, Overblood, which came out just 5 months after Resident Evil, which, like Hauser, forwent pre-renders for fully 3D environments, but this time really pushed the atmosphere and cinematic play. It's
Oh my God.
funny to put it this way, mostly because MFs have been saying the exact same sentence about Silent
Okay,
Hill
fine.
for decades, which came out several years after
Yeah,
Overwatch.
why can't I just
Even after
fucking...
breaking through the mostly influential JB Harold Murder Club in the mid-80s.
Okay, fine.
And while they were
Jesus.
developing titles for
Oh my
major
God.
consoles, River Hill stayed loyal to the PC-98's weirdo otaku market, which was pretty much the only PC-98 market there was. Thus, Princess Minerva was born. This leads us to the other key bit of context here. This is a Bishoujo game. I do not have time to get into the specifications that make up a Bishoujo game. I cannot touch that right now, but I will someday soon-ish. I have a whole long video in the works that goes over it in some pretty nauseating detail, but in its shortest form, Bishoujo games are games predominantly featuring pretty girls. There are certain genres that are more heavily associated with them than others, but it's not genre specific, which is how you wind up with Bishoujo games that are, say, fighters or archetypical RPGs, and that is what Princess Minerva is. Princess Minerva seemed to be a fairly modest success, spawning a manga series, drama CD, light novel, and an OVA prequel. Despite said OVA getting an English dub by ADV, we couldn't play this game in English until 2017, when it was fan translated by veteran translation group Dynamic Designs. They've been in the game since '99, which should clue you in a bit as to what the general feel of the translation is like. I'll give it up to the game's readme on that front, though.
Before anyone brings it up elsewhere, I will tell you, yeah, the game has altered non-important dialogue throughout. The reason for this is simple. 50% or more of the non-important dialogue was just dry repeated text over and over and over. I wasn't even sure how many times a game could even say the same thing, and then I found Princess Minerva. You can only read, "Have you heard about monster girls roaming around" so many times. I wish I was kidding about that, but this is the honest truth. We hope you enjoy the humor we tried to inject to liven up the game in those cases.
I understand the apprehensions about a translation going out of its way to differentiate itself from the original, but, you know, I do enjoy the humor. It can be kinda dad tier, but so were the classic late 90s translations from the likes of Working Designs. And this brand of cartoony, crass fantran just kinda feels at home to me. If it were an official deal, I might feel differently, but you start to develop a sixth sense for what's translation and what's original text. And trying to pick out which is which can be part of the fun for me. From what I played, it never reaches the despairing depths of the 2001 Tales of Phantasia translation, but to be honest, even if it had, it wouldn't have bothered me. Like, this is a Bishoujo game. It's horny, that's part of the charm. It was funny to see the readme a bit confused over that. Like, if it's aimed at boys, why do you play as girls? Because who wants to look at dudes when you can look at girls? Duh.
True.
Alright, listen up, bimbos. We got a game for us. Plot's not super important here. You play as the titular Princess Minerva on a quest to defeat a sexy evil sorceress and her 6 sexy evil demon generals. Except you don't play just as her, you're actually controlling Minerva and her fucking 8 personal bodyguards at once. That doesn't mean you have a party of 9 in battle though. It plays out as 3 groups of 3 that are randomly chosen each time you enter a battle. Save for bosses, of course, you get to pick in those instances. And yeah, this comes with all the implications of a 9-character party you would expect. You're gonna need to buy each piece of armor up to 9 times in order to deck the whole squad out. Any grinding you find yourself doing will take exponentially as long, but it also makes some other aspects more interesting. For one thing, you rarely have to go to an inn because random battles wear down on your team's HP 3 times as slow overall. Not to mention that there are also 3 different types of special attack points, MP, TP, and SP, and most girls can use 2 types, so you don't have to resort to just using basic attacks over and over very often at all. Most importantly though, the team compositions are up to you, and it's not like the game has 3 classes and 3 girls of each class. It's more like 4 main types that specialize in a handful of the 5 main combat categories and 3 special attack types. Yeah, it's kind of a goddamn mess, and I was initially planning on breaking shit down much more, but then I realized it doesn't fucking matter, because this game is dummy easy if you go through the motions with it. It's got some pretty forward-thinking turn replay and pummel features that speed stuff up even further too. It's less about the intricacies of its combat and more about all the stuff around it. The characters are fun and cute, their banter is charmingly vapid, there's a ton of big, detailed pixel art in true PC98 fashion, and even more monster girls in bikini armor. All the good stuff. If you like the particular kind of listlessly, absent-mindedly, hair-twirling bimbo energy of some of the OVAs I talked about in my VHS anime video, you're gonna feel right at home here. Alright, before I get hit with another fucking age restriction for this triple X adult-only officially licensed by Nintendo subject matter I'm covering here, let's move on to something entirely pure-hearted. Gurumin is yet one more game I played as a kid.
Okay,
I had
almost
a
done.
PS2 for it, and
Oh god.
I didn't
And then I'll
Falcom, I knew I adored this game. It was always one of those, yo, I've never heard anyone talk about this, but it secretly owns kind of titles, where half the fun was repping it whenever it was brought up in conversation. Thing is, I never got terribly far growing up. I had a terrible attention span and constantly cycled out used games for one another. Yeah, you don't have to tell me how many times I lost those gambles. The furthest I ever got was capturing footage for this video, and it's even better than I remember. I'll warn you now, I think my footage wound up kind of framey in spots. Rest assured, it's a smooth ride in person. I'm just apologizing to my computer's APU in retrospect. Gurumin tells the story of Parine, a young girl who's just moved to live with her grandfather. She uncovers a society of monsters and has to aid them in restoring their world. You get the ever-expanding homey little hub area full of cheeky characters, equipables that display on your gal, and ever-expanding arsenal of moves. What's not to love? I hesitate to call it a character action game, but Parine is flexible as hell on a second-to-second basis in combat. Match that with a rhythm element, and you've got a game that's fun even when you're just mindlessly obliterating every single thing in the forest, just going full Wonder Bread. Gurumin is a game that's just loaded with polish and all the weird directions that still leaves room for plenty of jank. It's heightening jank though, like what's not to love about running on walls with no tactical advantage? This is a game that was destined to speak to me. The first thing I thought when I played it originally was, oh, this is kinda like Graffiti Kingdom. Man, I just need to make a whole video about Graffiti Kingdom. It's one of my favorite games ever. I don't think I need to even say anything more about Gurumin than that. But when has that ever stopped me? These character designs are just delightful. Their proportions settle them perfectly into this chunky, baked-in lighting aplenty, non-orthogonal, lived-in little world. Parine's animations are precious too. She's got a whole bunch of different idle poses, she dances a bunch. The game does the Wind Waker thing where her head will track nearby objects and enemies, and they have it set so that her eyes always display above her hair no matter the angle, so her expressions are always visible. Shit's so cute. It made me wonder, and I've never played it, so I don't know how deep the comparison actually runs, if Gurumin inspired A Hat in Time at all. Apparently there was a planned official mod for Parine's goggles, but I guess the crossover fell through and it never materialized. I originally had a hunch that this wasn't really set in stone because I found it from a tweet by the Gurumin Twitter account, and, well, this account follows its ABCs. Always be posting. But no, here's a word from the Hat in Time studio themselves. I wonder why it didn't come together. Gurumin is available on the PSP and the 3DS, so it's readily available if you have a jailbroken PSP or 3DS or Vita or a computer that was made after the year 2009, which, let's be real, you probably do. But I actually fully recommend the Steam port published by Mastiff. It's the only version of the game that supports native 1080p, so it looks clear as day. The controls are super robust, and the publisher's Twitter account has been posting a bunch of never-before-seen concept art to their Twitter even today, which is sick. Look, this is just an excuse for me to put an N-Gage game into this video. My Twitter icon might be from Revival Xanadu 2 Remix, but I've never played a single game in the series, save for Fuzz Xanadu. More than anything, the honorary mention for this entire video goes to the games of Nihon Falcom, whose work is so foundationally offbeat, this entire video could have been a retrospective if that video didn't already exist. Gurumin is just one flavor of the studio's massive catalog, now 40 30 years strong. From the chunky pre-rendered environments and vinyl toy proportions of Zwei to Vantage Master's frankly decadent UI design, even the aforementioned Fazanadu's slimy, swampy color palettes just feel at home for the kind of game it is. In particular, though, I gotta give it to just goddamn near everything in Trails in the Sky. Tits for short. I love what I've played of this thing, even if that wasn't much. Estelle is such an instantly likable protagonist. The translation's got charm for days. It's one of those games where there's just no other way to describe it than lovely, even if I suffered multiple game overs to random encounters in just a few areas. RPGs with fairly experimental combat flow tend to have a learning curve the progression doesn't always seem to account for. Like, I know this is something I'll get a feel for with enough experimentation, but it can feel pretty overwhelming to just get decked repeatedly in the process. That trial and error is well worth it though if it means getting to spend more time in a world that looks like this. There's just nothing better than digitized sprites in 3D environments. This diorama feel needs to make a comeback stat. Funny enough though, there's actually another older game that shares the diorama look. The breadth of cute NPC dialogue, the turn order centric combat, the starting out with a party of 2 related protagonists, and it hooked me far deeper than Trails did. Alright, this is the big one. The one I'm closing with. I straight up think Grandia is one of my favorite RPGs I've ever played. I wasn't even gonna play it originally, but the homie Neelan mentioned the second game when I put out feelers among friends for this video's topic, and I was like, oh yeah, of course Grandia 2, despite not knowing what Grandia 2 was like, then proceeding to download Grandia 1. Big thoughts only over here. Look, right off the bat, because I know people will ask, yes, I'm aware there's a Saturn version. I've seen the 2001 Kiyoshi Kurosawa film Pulse. I guested on an entire episode of a podcast about that movie. Yeah, that's right, bringing up Sweet Home like an hour ago was the plant. This is the payoff. I'm even aware the Saturn version has a Fantran and is on the whole considered the better version for its steadier frame rates and VFX, and I know that even prefacing this, I'm still gonna get comments telling me, hey, did you know that the Saturn version is better? That was the version I intended to play. The Saturn version is the version I did play for all of about 9 seconds until I didn't want to have to figure out how to fix that shit. This video's been in production long enough, and I secretly wanted to play the PS1 version anyway, because people talk so much shit on the English voice acting, I had to go out of my way to not download an undub. That's how much people fucking hate this dub. So, of course, I had to know. I had to. I was curious. How bad could it possibly be?
Hey! Justin! Ouch! Mom! What did I do?
How many times do I have to tell you? No dirty shoes in the kitchen. Even...
Yo there! Welcome home, Fina. Boy, I missed you. How you been?
I'm doing great. And the
Wait, this is fine.
You can see it's just perfect.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's perfectly fucking fine. Why are people so dick twisted?
Yeah, what the
about
fuck?
this?
It's so nice.
Yeah, we're starting with this. I'll tell you what the hell this game
It's
even
not
is in
bad
just
at
a sec.
all.
But first, I got a bone to pick. All things considered, for such a text-heavy game, there isn't even that much voice acting, so I don't get how it's even that memorable in the first place. Yet, I've legit seen people call it the worst video game dub of all time. I think I've pinpointed 3 major reasons why this is, though, and only one has anything to do with the performances. First of all, the sound mixing is pretty whack, the music is
barely audible sometimes and going full Sonic Adventure to others,
and the sound effects and voices are constantly fighting one another for dominance. This is especially egregious in battle, where you get the dreaded combo of the cast's most shrill performances and everyone shouting the names of some of their attacks, which, as is the tale old as time, sounds cool in Japanese but sounds lame as fuck in English. The second reason is that the voice work comes off stilted because of how the game displays dialogue. Grandia's talk sprites are super emotive, with even the occasional one-off character getting a handful of different expressions. It also changes them sometimes mid-text box, like so. There's always a brief pause between them. This is something I love about it, how it syncs the player to its intended pace, how text boxes sometimes pop up over other text boxes as characters interject or cut one another off. But this is all true even when there's voice acting. Let's compare how a line of dialogue sounds with and without these hitches.
Anyway, don't ever hunt for treasure in my shed again. You hear me, boy?
Ouch. That awful man, he never ever understands. Ouch. That awful man, he never ever understands.
Mid-90s game dubs are across the board notorious for predominantly featuring voice actors who were inexperienced at best or barely actors to begin with. This does not mesh well with the grandiose theatrical tone many a PS1 era JRPG took. However, Grandia's dialogue is incredibly conversational. Few of the recurring voices overact, so when the rest inevitably underact, it matches up decently well with what a solid translation this thing has. Whoa, I was trying to make a point here, jeez. Yeah, this translation isn't perfect. Sign of the times, I know. Ironically, when paired with that certified 1990s moment, there's a few we gotta keep this shit rated E-isms, like the cafe that opens at night and doesn't allow children inside. Mind you, all of this is to say I think the dub is fine. It's innocuous. To say it's one of the worst or even just terrible is frankly silly, but I don't know. I also kind of like the Chaos Wars dub for its sheer audacity, so maybe don't take my word on fucking anything.
Ah! Screaming! It came from the bag alley.
Sounds like a girl. I'll go check it out.
Okay, let's talk about the damn game already. Well, actually, first, I just gotta say, I feel terrible that this is the only PlayStation 1 rep in this entire video. In my defense, I really had to just pick one and stick with it since games got a lot larger around this point, and I needed to keep shit rolling. Generations prior, as well as the contemporary handheld market, tended to be smaller in scope, so it's snappier to get a fuller picture of what they're like in less time for purposes like these. As a consolation prize, here's a quick roundup of RPGs that could have made the list in Grandia's place, that are probably all good picks to break in your brand new NTSC-J Nutty Professor to the Clumps PS1. Alundra 2, Wild Arms, Thousand Arms, Eternal Eyes, Vandal Hearts, Brave Prove, Kodelka, Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, Tales of Fantasia, Brave Fencer Musashi, Valkyrie Profile, Azure Dreams, Beyond the Beyond, Popolocroy, Revelations Persona, Vanguard Bandits, Threads of Fate, Front Mission 3, Breath of Fire 3, Breath of Fire 4, Legend of Legaia, Suikoden 2, Twin BRPG, Genso Suikoden Volume 1, Genso Suikoden Volume 2, Legend of Mana, Arc the Lad 2, Arc the Lad 3, and Quest 64. Okay, one last thing, swear to God. I was and am torn on this while writing the script and speaking it. The Japanese pronunciation is Grandia, but I have yet to see a single official English source say the game's title, so I have no clue if it should be pronounced in English as Grandia or Grandia. Grandia is the technically correct way to say it, but Grandia feels better suited to English speech patterns, and the title is very likely centered on a loan word of sorts. Obviously, grand. It's not like we're expected to call Final Fantasy Final Fantasy just because it's a Japanese game, right? Either way I say it will tweak some people, so I'm just gonna stick with Grandia. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just see how I feel as I continue recording. I'm gonna stick with Grandia, which is the story of a boy named Justin. Justin wants to set out to explore the world in the footsteps of his dad, who was himself an adventurer. He's joined predominantly by his little cousin Sue and fellow adventurer Fina as they explore ancient ruins for relics and artifacts that may shed light onto their world's rich history and what may lie beyond. As with many JRPGs of its time, Grandia takes sleeve-worn influence from the naively gallant wayfaring likes of Future Boy Conan, Esteban Child of the Sun, and Nadia the Secret of Blue Water, matching a persistently upbeat, hopeful tone amidst moments of beautifully melancholic humanity and hints at a greater picture than our heroes can currently see. It's fucking amazing, and I love damn near everything about it. Full disclosure, I didn't play all of this thing, but I will. I will play all of Grandia, and then I'll play the Game Boy Color game. I might even play the previous Game Arts RPGs, the Lunar series. I might even play Grandia 2, 3, and Extreme. I have presently logged about 16 hours into Grandia 1, and I think that's more than enough time to give it the following glowing recommendation. Because even if it gets shit immediately after where I shelved it to finish this video, 16 hours of tightly packed, phenomenal, quintessential 32-bit RPG fare is a lot of game. Let's get into it. I want to start with the combat because it's kind of confusing up front, and I think there's a way to explain its systems that online guides and even the game itself doesn't quite hit on. Once that's out of the way, we can talk about what makes this thing soar so high in my eyes. I would describe the first dozen or so battles I fought in Grandia as disorienting. In addition to giving you dozens of contextless numbers and a handful of similar sounding choices, the presentation makes it unclear which elements are for show and which have relevance to your own actions. The camera swings in and out, characters run all over the place, there's flashy hit stop and all of these punchy swashes and stretches. How many of these things actually matter and how many are predetermined? It makes things a good bit clearer, though, to learn that Grandia's combat was inspired by fighting games. The game uses a modified active time battle system, and while I don't usually like ATB, I love it here. Rather than each character having a bar that independently fills while you're making decisions for the others, your party and your enemies are all sliced across a time bar. This bar is segmented as follows: wait, where your character is idle, this command notch, where you get to pick your move, and action, where your character or monster briefly prepares their next move. If an enemy is attacked during their wait phase, they'll be temporarily stunned, and if they're attacked during their action phase, there's a chance their attack will be countered and cancelled. That's where the fighting game influence shines through most, and it's also where some folks will go, damn, that sounds kind of like Trails. For what it's worth, my beef with ATB largely lies in the lack of transparency that comes with it, something that in general makes the combat in Final Fantasy games my least favorite part. I've played a lot of Final Fantasy games and I'm still not able to intuit which spells will even work on which enemies. A more consistent and conveyed internal logic serves to make strategizing and experimentation more rewarding, and this is what I love so much about Grandia's combat. They give you damn near everything. You always know how much health an enemy has, often even what action they're gearing up to use, what their turn order is like, and their status. There's still risk involved, of course. You have to get a feel for whether or not you have time to counter enemy attacks, or if you'll wind up getting punished instead. To help you in that particular regard, let me explain the two elements that threw me off the most while wrapping my head around the game's combat. Each character, in addition to spells and special moves, has access to a regular attack and a critical attack. Critical is kind of a bad name for what it is, because it's a move that's best suited to canceling enemy moves. You can also do this with regular attacks and specials, but I believe criticals have a higher likelihood and a faster load time, so to speak, so you can whip them out quicker. Likewise, when you defend, you're given the choice between evasion and endurance. Initially, I assumed this was your choice in pulling from your character's stats, right? Endurance ensures you take less damage, but evasion increases your odds of dodging the attack outright, like a tabletop dice roll. Endurance does just that, but evasion literally causes your character to physically run away. This is because spacing is really important. I imagine high-level Grandia play revolves around knowing how your inputs will affect your party's relative positioning to maximize each turn you get. Once more, this transparency shifts focus from intuition to near chess-like foresight, in that your odds for success are at their highest when you're thinking as many steps ahead as you can muster. It can be overwhelming at first, like when you notice characters have proficiency levels in each of the different weapon types they can equip, and that using certain weapons will increase certain stats, and that using certain spell types will increase certain stats. But this game made me feel like a goddamn wizard during the moments where I figured out how to effectively take down a boss monster that wiped my party several times in a row without so much as a scratch on us. As you're getting the hang of things, make sure you're reading the hints at every save zone. They help a lot. So much so that I, on a few instances, backtracked to previous save points just to read ones I realized I'd missed. Lastly, don't fret too terribly much about not knowing what you're doing for the first handful of hours. Grandia opens at a comfortable pace and doesn't work itself up to speed until you're likely to have more of a feel for things. So let's talk about that opening. I wish more RPGs had the confidence to start on such a small scale and for as long as Grandia does. I don't know how many times I've said it at this point, but there are few things I love more than a small town setting, and Grandia does this perfectly. Despite the steampunky, borderline retro-futurist coat of paint on everything, the town of Parm has all of the elements that make Night in the Woods, the bookending sections of Deltarune's chapters, Sonic Adventure, and the idea of Tulip some of my favorite shit ever. If you spent your whole adolescence in the same small town, you know that it's impossible to do anything or go anywhere without bumping into someone you know. I was in my hometown for all of about 36 hours a few months ago, and for the 1 hour I was outside, I saw my old bandmate's bizarre dad and several people I went to high school with. That's just how it goes, running into motherfuckers at the DMV and shit. It makes interconnectedness an integral part of getting Podunkian Gothic right. By virtue of being playful kids, Justin and Sue have a relationship to everyone in town, including the retirees and the parents of every other child. You kind of expect out the gate that there's going to be some standard adults just don't understand antagonism, but even Justin's surprisingly good-natured. He's eager to listen to the adults around him because he knows what he can learn from them is valuable. In the opening chapter alone, we see a handful of small arcs occur for various nameless NPCs in town. There's a couple in love down at Port who struggle to profess their love for one another, a kid trying to find the perfect hide-and-seek spot, and a whole bunch of stuff weaving in and out of the main plot to do with the cafe, from an absentee worker misplacing the keys to the front door to the family of the cafe's owner. And that's to say nothing of Justin's feuding with the other big shot, snotty, aspiring adventure kids. My favorite example of this is how you learn more and more about Justin's mom by listening to what other residents of Parm have to say, sometimes without even explicitly naming her. But it's such a fun and cute framing device that, despite being so simple, I'll leave that bit for y'all. I adore Justin's mom, Lily, though. I love that after all her and her husband's travels, she makes ends meet and raises her kid by operating a quaint little restaurant. I feel very strongly about food as something that sort of universally brings people together, and this is something Grandia nails effortlessly, almost by happenstance. Whenever the gang finds time to eat, it enters this brief little conversation segment where you can hear, no pun intended, I swear, flavor dialogue from each person Justin's eating with, and it's so cute. It's a great way to bookend each in-game day. You really get to know the place in and out. Navigating sort of becomes muscle memory, and you develop a mental map of where certain NPCs are in relation to any given landmark. The sense of place is unmatched in this game. And then you leave. You get on a boat and you leave. The beauty of going into a game without a single clue what it's about or where it's going is that I was able to be surprised by small things that I now sort of take for granted. Like, of course this wouldn't be the hub area for the whole game, but after playing a ton of 8 and 16-bit RPGs for this video, I found myself expecting the scope would be fairly in line with those titles. The scene where Justin slips out of town is a fucking masterstroke. And without ruining the magic, Lily's letter really got me. That shit made me cry. Like, man, our adventure really is beginning. I'm gonna miss Parm, but you know what? That's okay, because I kid you not, every other area is about as fleshed out. Not as big, per se, not as emotion or story significant, but the NPCs are all just as fleshed out and often have more to say than the residents of old Parmigiano Reggiano. Sometimes a little too much. Character dialogue evolves after each beat in the story plays out, so you'll find yourself spending long stretches reading all the dialogue if you find yourself wanting to read everything, wanting to hear everything. Thankfully though, it's all fun and cheeky and good. Usually your first pass through everyone's dialogue is more or less all you need, so if you feel yourself getting bogged down, you can move on. Which is yet one more way in which this game's pacing is impeccable.
I
It
don't know.
balances each facet of its gameplay and story so deftly, it's kind of dizzying. It knows exactly how big a dungeon should be, exactly when to give you access to new weapons, exactly where to introduce a new minigame, and exactly when its emotional beats should play out in contrast to its more lighthearted moments. I rarely felt like any one element of the game was overstaying its welcome. I also have to say, because I can't believe I haven't already, this game's diorama world aesthetic is fucking peak. As a kid, I got way into paper crafts, and Grandia absolutely reminded me what was so appealing about that hobby. I've talked extensively about my love of 2D sprites blending with 3D environments, and while I think aesthetically I still prefer Trails overall just slightly for its use of pre-rendered 3D sprites, Grandia's world has this tactile nature to it that aligns one-to-one with the kinds of low-poly PS1 throwback titles being made today. Like Cecilia Condit and the VHS pastiche, Grandia just kind of stumbled into predicting the specific archaisms we find appealing in retrospect. Brian Eno quote-type beat. I think Fina's house is particularly exemplary of what makes the environments so comfy. She's got all the amenities a house would need packed in a super tight space in a way that's unconventional but makes sense. The rugs are haphazardly strewn all over, probably tossed down wherever fit between outings. There's that big rock intruding from the left corner that's clearly consistent with what the building looks like from the outside. My favorite is how the fireplace, stovetop, and sinks are all attached to the same unit, because those are the three things in the house that use heat. So clever. Meanwhile, the light switch to my wife and I's studio apartment bathroom is located on the fucking wrong side of the door, and on the same side of the hinges too, so you can't even have the door open at a 90-degree angle if you want to reach the switch. Sometimes I just leave the light off. Sadly though, Grandia does still contain the one thing that drives me fucking crazy, the uneven sprite scaling as the camera zooms in and out. So, 0 out of 10. For real though, this is one of those games that clearly has its priorities where polish is concerned, leaving some pockets of jank in the non-essential spots. The default-ass fonts of the UIs and Babby's first 3D Studio Max noise modifier plain JPEGs for some of the battle environments, the aforementioned dog shit sound mixing, and man, I gotta say, maybe this is a bit iconoclastic of me, but I thought the music was some mid. Not bad, but it kept distracting me that a bunch of the songs just sound like other songs. The main theme centers on a lick that sounds like Kool and the Gang's Celebration. The victory theme sounds like Splash Wave from Outrun. I'm not calling plagiarism or whatever, they're not even that similar, but it's one of those things I'm weird about once I've noticed it. Now you have too.
12月18日グランディア12月18日グランディア12月18
すべての人に大冒険シネマティック RPG グランディア誕生
感動しました
I already made the Conan and Nadia comparisons, but I think it's cute how TV advertisements for the game called it the cinematic RPG, which, like, yeah, it's got the bombastic camera moves, the 2D, 3D FMV cutscenes. More than just a season of anime, Grandia feels like a season of a historically significant anime, like something that, if it had come out at a formative time for the medium, like sometime in the 80s, it would have revolutionized shit. It's kind of the platonic ideal for bright, exciting, steampunky stories like this, is what I'm getting at. Hell, they even allude to an in-universe book series titled Eloise the Treasure Hunter. Gee, I wonder what that's based on. It seems gauche, if only because it's so obvious, but Grandia 1 is an adventure through and through, while other RPGs of its day are epics, stories of journeys, missions. Grandia 1 carries the carefree spirit of doing something because you can, because you want to do it, and because it feels to you like the right thing to do. This works so well because even when the stakes are low as can be, it's a character-driven story through and through. I don't want to say too much about the characters because, again, it feels so self-evident with any time spent in the game's world, but this cast is just fucking perfect. Everyone's relationships are thoughtfully considered and consistent with their personalities. I was in particular impressed by how natural the dynamic between Justin and Fina is. They even do the thing I've always wanted an anime or game or manga to do. See, in like every anime from the past 20 years especially, there's this tried and true trope where a boy character accidentally walks in on a girl character changing, or trips and falls and accidentally grabs a boob and gets comedically beaten up by the girl in question. Ah, what a pervert! It's not really ever funny, though. Like, I think we can all admit that it's just kind of tedious at this point more than anything. So whenever this sort of thing plays out, I always wonder how this would go over if the girl just responded, "Hey dude, it's cool. I know you didn't mean to. It's embarrassing, but like, it was an accident." Grandia fucking does that. Justin accidentally winds up with a pair of Fina's panties, which are cheekily treated as an inventory item, by the way.
Oh my god.
And when Fina catches him, she's just like, "Oh, what? Sorry about leaving them out like that." It's pretty embarrassing.
Oh my god.
And that's it. It reeks of narrative confidence. Great shit. I'd be a dunce not to say, too. Their design.
Oh my god. Holy shit. Sorry, I'm just like... Holy shit. Yeah. Let me just view it flip-o-rama. Just gonna flip-o-rama it real quick and then... Seems fine. Okay, let's Okay. Is it? I think it's like the. I work on this comic. When did I work on the when did I upload the last comic? I uploaded that when I was done with it. Yeah, and also after this, I'm gonna like take a 15-minute break, and then I'm gonna. Nope, please don't. God. God. Maybe I can just check on my Twitter. I mean, on my phone. Oh my God. My fucking brain. Oh, God. Wait, so I posted this on 5/3. I really worked on this for 5 days? Wait, what day was that? See, that was... I do not want to think right now. So I took 2 days off. Okay, so I worked on this in 3 days. Honestly, kind of impressive. I don't mean to toot my own toot, but like, that's actually pretty impressive. Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna take a piss break. And, I don't know, do stuff. I don't fucking know. Yeah, I'm gonna take a piss break, and then I'm gonna walk for then I'm gonna finish uploading this. And then I'll, I don't fucking know. I'm just gonna try not to be tired. Okay, let me set up PP break thing. What? Okay. I'll be back. Alright. I need to work on that banner soon so I can have something to upload. Oh my god. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Where are you? I know you're here. Is that my phone down there? What? Who? Oh god. Okay, I need to go grab my meds. I'll be back again. Okay. I'm gonna, fuck. Oh god. So tired. Holy shit. Sometimes when you're like having a sad day, being busy is like the best fucking thing you can ever do. Holy shit. It's so nice being busy all the time. I had no idea how nice it is to be busy all the time until like today. I won't go into like why, but like just know like holy shit, I'm so glad. I'm like busy literally every single day of my fucking life. Okay. Okay.
Signs are cream of the fucking crop. Their sprites have so many expressive little animations to pair with all their different portraits. So goddamn cute.
Shut the
It's a
fuck
small
up.
thing, but I love how Lily has a hairnet incorporated into her design without obstructing what they could do with her hair. So clever. And fuck me, dog. All the concept and promotional art for this game is amazing.
Oh
Parallel
god, my
Troopers
brain.
might have my favorite Game Boy Color box art, OOT. It makes me happy to see more of the art from Grandia in higher quality thanks to the recent HD release, but that smoothing filter makes the whole thing look like baby vomit, so no thanks. I have this thing sometimes when I'm listening to a song or an album or whatever for the first time, where if something really excites me or impresses me, I'll kind of
I guess I can
physically
just, like-
recoil in my chair, or make a shocked
Yeah,
face,
okay.
smile incredulously, or mouth, what the fuck? It doesn't sound like a positive sensation, but if I'm feeling physically attacked by the music, it's a surefire sign I've just heard one of my new favorite things. We don't have
Yeah,
time to address
I
what
get that.
might say about my artistic proclivities though, so I'll just say this is an experience that's usually pretty exclusive to music since it's what I know best and have the most first-hand experience with. But no shit, this fucking video game was making me do that. Legit reeling because I couldn't comprehend how it was so successful successfully ticking every single box for me. Boxes I didn't even know I needed ticked. I fell so hard for Grandia that it had me going, no, I can't get rid of Justin's goggles. Sure, it's just his starting equipment, but it says they're his favorite. I can't ditch this cutting board. It's from his mommy's restaurant. I don't know, man. I'm fully cashed in on this shit. I can't wait to finish this video so I can go right back to playing more. Good game. Good stuff. Jesus fucking Christ. I didn't mean for this shit to be 2 hours long. I finished the script for the Tenchi Muyo video and went, yeah, this RPG video will be a fun diversion to wind down the year with. It'll probably be like, what, 45 minutes long? Maybe closer to an hour.
Oh my god.
Here we are, almost as long as that novella-length quarter-life crisis I hid inside a YouTube video about an anime nobody remembers. And yet, I still know I left out a ton. This could have been twice as long. The entire time I was playing games, researching and scripting the video, I kept thinking, fuck, why didn't I include Evolution 1 and 2? Shit, how could I forget about Dark Cloud? Do I have time to squeeze in goddamn Opuna? But I think Nikki put it perfectly. Anything really can be a cozy RPG if it hits you the right way. I can rest easy though, knowing the games I picked are all titles I believe in, made by studios that were doing innovative, boundary-pushing, weird shit without the fanfare allowed only to the big guys. During research on the studios and directors behind these titles made it abundantly clear that very few managed to survive the 2010s when the market shifted fully to the next-gen HD or bust mindset, when Westerners all but disavowed Japanese games, and when corporate restructuring and the introduction of a mobile market snuffed out a lot of the creativity and experimentation that makes for studios like GAE, Brownie Brown, and Game Arts. I don't at all mean to say these kinds of games have gone away completely, and the past 10 years have been unreal for the indie market, absolutely. But I still think it's important we take time to reflect on and, more importantly, celebrate the kind.
The recent era of like indie games has really shown how much we really miss that shit. I don't know. Like, it made me realize how much I miss creative games. And I don't know. I'm so tired, dude. I just miss creative shit. So I've been like playing a lot of old games lately, and honestly some of them have just been feeling more fun and alive than a lot of recent games. And my brain is also dead, so
kinds of games we lost along the way.
Oh god.
What kinds of influence they have on the games coming out today, and what can still be learned from them, and how we can let these kinds of games flourish. I would love to see the games industry and the game-playing masses recognize that games that suit the modern standards of prestige are not healthy or viable long-term, and that we should all shrink our expectations down a bit so that we can get, as they say, shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less.
Yes! Oh my god!
President Hiroyuki Takahashi is particularly relevant here.
Oh my god, this looks so cute.
Since you've been involved with it?
One thing that is very different is that a long time ago when we started making games, you could have a really small team. A small number of really, really great people working together.
Holy shit, this is really
that's
cute.
Something that you can't really do anymore. Now you have these huge teams that have to come together.
It's worth noting he's specifically talking about development in the AA and AAA space, if that wasn't clear.
Because you don't have the ability to make games with smaller teams, the thing that's disappeared is the ability to take those bigger risks. In this day and age, with the amount of money and resources put behind these bigger projects, it's much more difficult to take risks because you're not going to be able to live through failure.
Imagine... I would love to see low budget action movies. Honestly, I think we need some more low budget, like fantasy, sci-fi, or superhero-esque like action movies that look worse, but can also like show off so much more creativity and risk in terms of storytelling. I think that would be really nice to see more of, because I think one of the problems with a lot of like superhero movies nowadays is that because the budgets are always going to be so high, there's always going to be so much like risk around it, that we don't ever get to see the really fun, over the top action superhero movies that I wish I could get. I don't know. I want more superhero shit. I'm gonna press play. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I'm sleepy.
This business doesn't forgive failures as much as it used to, so taking a risk and making a game that you really want to make is a bit harder to do.
Except that quote isn't recent. It was from 2008. Like I said at the top of the video, there will always be people championing scope and realism as the defining qualities of historically significant video games.
It's not.
But to take that a step further...
I'm sorry, that's not. I think this will be like a part of video games for a bit, but I am excited to see, hopefully with like the recent success of like indie games lately, a more boom in the market of like less realistic looking games and more like fun looking games.
Further, if it's not too cynical, that's often the realm where the fewest risks can be taken. And more in the modern big budget game space, I see games that are safe, iterated in increments, uninspired, and afraid to say anything. There's great shit coming out for sure, but I'll be shocked if I feel obligated to buy a current gen console before I'm tripping over them in the street. And like I said, my computer has an APU, so I can't just play it on PC instead if I wanted to. If this video imparts anything to even a single person who watches it, I hope it's that the spaces in between the AAA releases are often where the real magic lies, and that any pseudoscientific measure of quality is, on some level, always worth sacrificing for any story worth telling. On a final personal note, as this video goes live, I'll be on a plane to see my family for the first time in nearly 3 years after not being able to afford travel expenses.
The other annoying part is that also, like, you have all this money, but you can't do anything creative with it, when in reality, if you do a lot of creative shit with it, you can make the coolest shit ever. Like, holy shit, dog. You can make the coolest shit ever if you have, like, an ounce of creativity. I'm gonna press play. I don't know. I'm so fucking tired, dude. It's annoying.
That wouldn't be possible without everyone watching, and the folks pledged to me on Patreon, earning me my first truly stable living I've had in my entire life. Even YouTube itself has been fickle for me, undoing a lot of my hard work in ways that have been, frankly, really painful. But every time something like that has occurred, the outpouring of support from real people, not advertisers, has recentered any concerns I have about whether or not this is a career for me. Over the past 360 some odd days, I've gone full-time, moved out of state, made some of my favorite shit I've ever made, met or gotten closer to some of my favorite people on the entire fucking planet, and finally perfected my homemade mac and cheese recipe. It doesn't matter if you're actively supporting me monetarily, or if this is your first or your last video of mine. Just thanks for making this such an incredible year. Here's to the next one being even better.
God.
Gosh, shit, I didn't even talk about Community Palm. Well, next time.
Oh my god. That video is so fucking long. I think Sonic Adventure is Beautiful is next. Oh, that's great. Google Chrome's almost is not responding. That's great. I love it. Oh my god. Where are you? What? No, shut up. What? Oh no.
In late 2022, it became international news when Japanese candy manufacturer Sakuma Seika, most famous for its Sakuma-style drops, hard candies sold in compact red tins, would be going out of business. The candies have come to be most associated with, and if you're outside of Japan, you likely know them for their appearance in the 1988 Studio Ghibli film, Grave of the Fireflies. The company had survived both the damaging of its factory and sugar shortages that resulted from World War II, but cited its closure on the skyrocketing prices of raw materials and a decline in sales in this period. Wake up, bitch. Sonic the Hedgehog owns. My two earliest memories with literally video games were playing Sonic 2 on Sega Smash Pack 2 on my mom's Windows 98 computer, and exactly what you're seeing here. Tails flying around the Station Square Hotel in Sonic Adventure. Sonic the Hedgehog literally means more to me than my dad. When I would play Sonic Adventure
Oh my
in full
God.
years later on the GameCube, it granted me my first experience going out of my way to drink in the atmosphere of a video game. This has since become something of a full-blown compulsion of mine. I can't help but wander aimlessly in every game I play, seeing what far-off parts of the environment I'm able to visit sans developer intention. Multiple friends have noted I'm a little bit annoying to play video games with, but I just want to see what I can see, and Sonic Adventure always gives me that fix. Buckets of ink have been spilt in the name of Sonic Adventure's fucked up physics. Most who like the game still have to concede that, yeah, it does that sometimes, but I don't really give a shit. Actually, I think it's just good. It takes some time to immerse yourself in the moon logic that defines how your little guy moves and behaves, but isn't that what people like about Dark Souls? Sonic Adventure isn't especially difficult, so if you're able to laugh it off when you just kind of fall through solid ground knowing it's not really gonna set you back that much, you're in business. If anything, the element of unpredictability gives it more replay value. I've played this game a lot, and I had never seen this happen before.
I just love that one because it looks so funny. What?
Hello?
Because it looks so funny. What?
What?
I had never replay value before.
I just love that one because it looks so funny. What? I just love that one because it looks so funny. What?
What the fuck?
Hello?
That's great.
That's
If the game
amazing.
enjoying masses as a whole gauge
I would be
video
so
games
pissed.
purely on how flexible their movement options are, that makes Sonic Adventure at least as good as Super Mario Odyssey. With no more than a spin dash, a homing attack, and a jump, Sonic is able to traverse, like, actually anywhere you want him to go. Whereas it takes 2D Sonic a curve in the level geometry that ends vertically to be sent airborne, Adventure Sonic needs about a 10-degree incline to go absolutely fucking soaring. It's great. This is a game whose primary adverb is quickly. Being able to jet around like a maniac, to go fast in all directions, is wonderful as an extension of its very premise. More importantly though, this makes the player's relationship to the game's locations akin to the eyes a parkour artist sees their cities downtown through. Look, I know a person who does parkour is called a tracer, but how many people do you think actually know that offhand? I had to look it up. What I mean is, you start to see every piece of geometry as either a self-made challenge or a rung on the ladder that will let you complete said challenge. Mario Odyssey places cheeky coin piles in locations you see and think, I might be able to get up there. For many, that's brilliant. They considered the fact that you'd try to get up there. For me, the coin piles were always met with resignation every time. They knew you could get up there. I want to go places you're not supposed to, in ways the developers never intended. And the unforeseen intermingling of Sonic Adventure's core mechanics and physics all but beg you to break free and bust loose. In the pantheon of 3D platformers, Sonic Adventure is not just at least as good as Super Mario Odyssey, it's the primordial slime that would one day evolve into Super Mario Odyssey, fed through a Boss BD2 blues driver. If 3D Mario is the pillows, Sonic Adventure is a Number Girl song. I like Mario Odyssey.
Hey, I feel like I'm trapped in Boy George's pants.
I love both those bands, but let's be honest, louder is pretty much always cooler, and 90s Sonic Team knew how to make a loud video game. That's loud in the fluorescent casino carpet print.
I couldn't hear you because his shirt's so loud.
Since, man, some of these straight up look like Kusama Yayoi installations. So does Nights into Dreams. Now, that's a game. We all know SADX is a pretty piss poor port, but even knowing this, it shocked the shit out of me upon installing the mod for the Steam release that restores the original Dreamcast assets, just how much more vibrant this version is. It fits so much better into Sonic Team's gameography. Like, you put on the Dreamcast glasses and suddenly you see the through line between Sonic the Screensaver and Sonic the Adventure. You're going to see me switch between the original and DX pretty freely in this footage. Just bear with any inconsistencies, because at the end of the day, not even visual downgrades can stop Sonic Adventure from being really fucking pretty. Wow, AT&T! Sonic Adventure set the standard in my mind for 3D platformer games needing hub areas. I love how lonely the Master Emerald Shrine is and how thick the jungle feels. You really get the sense Tails built his house in the landing strip. It's got that clunky utilitarian design that screams Inventor Boy. Station Square is cozier than 90% of JRPG towns. In addition to the weirdly detailed, ever-evolving NPC dialogue, there's a whole shitload of visual detail. I love all of the marble and wood paneling in the hotel. I love that the hotel manager acknowledges Chow and thinks they're so cute. A bunch of the shops have names. It's fresh. Try it. It's got a day-night cycle. There's continuity with the last area of Speed Highway and the first area of Emerald Coast. Continuity is one of the main factors driving level design in SA1 and 2, which works out because I don't even really care about level design. I'm just here to have a good time, man. I really like this video by Zoomzyke that digs deep into the story City Escape tells and how inextricable it is from the game's story as a whole. Sorry, my literal wife, who as a child recorded all of Sonic Adventure 2's cutscenes to VHS so she could watch them back like a movie, you were getting the SparksNotes version at best. Back to SA1, let's take a look at some of my favorite weird little touches, intentional or otherwise. In Emerald Coast, you can see the interiors of some of the beachside hotel rooms. I love how the water level keeps lights rising and falling for a second after the whale section. With DX's weird water effects, the sand almost turns lavender for a second. This area could have just had a bridge into this tunnel, but instead there's a whole lighthouse structure. The dolphins that crop up throughout really give this level an effervescent, joyous feeling, one that is, of course, matched by the music. Hell yeah, Sonic baby, Sonic the Hedgehog, in 3D. He's a friend to the people. He's pro-union. Windy Valley manages to do the level of floating islands thing in a way that doesn't feel mercilessly tacky. I think that's partly because the